This is the Spoken Podcast. I am your host, Lance Twidwell, here inside the Spoken Studios with my guys, Trevor Twidwell.
What's good?
And Eddie Ortiz.
Yo.
Episode 145 in full swing, full motion, and god damn, are we so excited to be here, guys. We're finally going to be talking an upcoming Chiefs game. It feels like an eternity since we've been able to do that. Whether you're live streaming, whether you're podcasting or YouTube, we want to thank you for being a part of what we do here at the Spoken Podcast. We literally could not and would not do it without you guys, so we want to thank you so much for being a part of this. For as long as you guys have been with us, we want to thank you for that. Man, we've had ourselves a fun-filled last few minutes. We had ourselves a guest lined up, one of our good friends, former Chiefs tight end, and a guy that does his own show at Chief Concerns, Mr. Jason Dunn. He was actually lined up and ready to go for the second week in a row to be with us this week, but unfortunately, he's had some family matters to attend to, guys. He had an emergency just come up within the last 15-20 minutes, and he contacted us and let us know he's not going to be able to be on the show today. We definitely appreciate him letting us know, because some people have big-timed us in the past before. We didn't know what the hell happened. We just kind of had to figure it out on the fly, but he's our guy, and we appreciate him. We hope everything is going well with his family, and he promises he'll be back with us, guys, next week. He was so nice, man. He was actually just trying to do a phone conversation with us on the way to where he had to go. I said, don't worry about that, man. We'll be here. We're not going anywhere, and we know you're not either, so we just wish Jason Dunn and his family nothing but the best, and we will definitely be talking some football with him next week, and we just hope everything's going good with them. But I want to start somewhere this week, guys. First of all, I don't mean to sound hyperbolic when I say that, but it has been rough without Chiefs football. I did not think after the first 6-7 weeks of football that I'd be sitting here fiending for Chiefs football in week 13 as they take this bye week, and it has felt like an eternity, man, not having Chiefs football to talk about. I know it's felt that way for you guys, and we've been trying to hold the fort down for you during this time, but here we are, and we're about to talk about the Chiefs and Broncos preview. We're going to get to that in a second. We got the Eddie Hour. We got some new things that I want to add to the show that I want to announce to you guys as well as the show progresses. But I want to start with the AFC picture as a whole. We are now at that time of the season where it is starting to shape up to what the playoffs are currently looking like, and where it actually starts to matter, where seeding is becoming realistic. You look at the final few games of the season, how you think this team's going to fare, how you think things are going. And the question now, because of the fact that the AFC has been so wide open, is I don't think it's no longer who's the face of the AFC or who's the favorite out of the AFC. It's who's going to survive the AFC. Because it just feels like one team rises one week and the next week it's another team, and this team's riddled with injuries. This team's clearly the favorite. Oh, shit, they just lost to the Jaguars. They're no longer the favorites. Oh, can this rookie quarterback with Bill Belichick lead their next dynasty in the Patriots? Another chapter of the Patriots dynasty? Are the Chiefs for real, or is this just that little sample size of what they once were but no longer are? There's so many questions that arise. So now the question that I have been asking, sitting back, taking a breather as a Chiefs fan and someone that follows this team so closely, I wanted to sit back and look at the AFC as a whole and really see what is being presented to me and why I feel a certain way, or why I feel confident or not confident about the Chiefs' chances either against those teams directly or against the AFC as a whole. There's always those questions about, would you take this team or the field? There's always those famous questions. And I ask those questions honestly every single week when it comes to the Chiefs, because this season has been such a roller coaster. The previous two seasons, every single week I go, oh, I'll take Chiefs against the field every single time. But we've seen how this season has progressed, and guys, I'll be honest with you, by week 6, week 7, I'm looking at this and going, I'm taking the field. I had a friend 5-6 weeks ago ask me, Lance, if you had to pick a team out of the AFC to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, who would you take? And I didn't pick the Chiefs. Now, it's not important who that team was, Ravens, but the fact was, I said for the first time in 3 years, I did not feel confident that the Chiefs were no longer the team that could easily walk into the AFC Championship, represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. But that now has changed, and it's not just because of what the Chiefs have done over the last month. It's what the AFC hasn't done over the last month. There is truth to putting a team away. And I'm not just talking about in 4 quarters. I'm not just talking about in an actual matchup where you need to put this team away because they're going to come back. We've heard that about Tom Brady. We've heard that about Patrick Mahomes. We've heard about that in other quarterbacks, Peyton Manning especially, Aaron Rodgers, where if you don't put these guys away in the first couple of quarters, they're going to beat your ass in that 3rd and 4th quarter and win that game. Well, that's the same thing that's happening now, only in a grand scheme of things, in the big picture of things, where the Chiefs, where teams like the Ravens, Chargers, Bills, Titans, even the Colts, teams like that people had a lot of expectations going into the season and throughout the season to this point, had opportunities to put themselves 3, 4, 5 games ahead of the Chiefs at this point of the season, and they simply didn't do it. We have seen the way the Ravens, how their injuries are finally starting to stockpile and really hurt this team. They're winning games, but not in a way where you think it's going to be sustainable. It's going to be really interesting to see what they do against Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh this week. We've seen the way the Chargers, a team I never bought into. I told you guys in our prediction show several weeks back before the season started that this team to me had so many questions about Brandon Staley and what he's going to be able to do with that defense that came away from Gus Bradley's style, and how Justin Herbert, although it was incredible last season, I still think is very incredible to this point of the season, he hasn't done enough to where I think that he's going to be the next Patrick Mahomes, as Jimmy Johnson and Terry Bradshaw and these other guys are trying to tell you. He's been great, but not great enough to lift a team that has clearly so many inefficiencies on defense, and the fact they cannot run the ball for themselves. The fact the Broncos, a team that beat the shit out of some cream puffs early in the year, have shown their flaws at quarterback and in their offense as a whole, although talented, cannot execute enough offense to beat actual good teams outside of the Cowboys. And trust me when I say I got plenty to say about the Broncos in this matchup coming up in about 30-40 minutes. But guys, when it comes to the AFC as a whole, as crazy as it sounds, the teams I'm the most confident in are the teams that 5-6 weeks ago no one had confidence in. No one believed in the Bengals. And I believe they're one of the three best teams in the AFC. I think they're going to whoop the shit out of the Chargers this week. I'm just going to put it out there now. I think they are the worst matchup right now for the Chargers. Joe Mixon is playing better than almost any running back not named Jonathan Taylor right now in the NFL. He's had 3 straight games of at least 2 touchdowns. The Chargers are by far the worst rushing defense in the league, and Justin Herbert's confidence is shaken. I don't know how good of a coach Brandon Staley is. We don't know yet. The only thing we do know is that he capitalized on being a really good defensive coordinator with the Rams last year with one of the most talented defenses of recent memory. And now you look at, again, the Ravens. You look at the Tennessee Titans and how banged up both those teams are. The fact that the Buffalo Bills, we have no idea who they are. They're 7-4, and they're a wild card team, and everybody penciled them in as the AFC East champions. Everybody was picking them to go to the Super Bowl outside of the Browns. And speaking of the Browns, they're irrelevant. This was a team that so many people on the national landscape were picking to go to the Super Bowl and beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship or beat the Bills in the AFC Championship. And that team looks like one of the worst teams in the AFC right now, despite all their talent and having a top-tier head coach who just won Coach of the Year last year. The Colts, who are they? A team that can go in there and go up 24-14 against the Buccaneers and literally just open the door to a victory for Tom Brady and the Bucs. A team that was riddled with injuries in themselves, that was begging to lose. I mean, their defensive tackle was literally losing teeth on the field, and you couldn't capitalize? There's so many questions with the AFC, guys, that the 3 teams that I feel the most confident in now are the Chiefs, the New England Patriots, and the Cincinnati Bengals. The reason I say the Patriots, guys, I know they've been playing great football, but I told you guys before the season, what did I say? I was the only one here that said that I think the Patriots are going to make the playoffs because of one reason. Because Bill Belichick got his core back. The guys that he did not have the previous season when they all, I think it was 8-9 guys that dropped out due to COVID. They did not want to play. He got all those guys back, and he added Matthew Judon, and he added tight end help, and he added a capable rookie quarterback that plays the style of offense the Patriots absolutely love. Mediocre, dink and dunk, Tom Brady style of offense, and it works. Now, you can sit here and debate as to whether the Patriots have played the cream of the crop yet in the NFL, because they really haven't, and when they have, they've lost. They started the season 2-4. They're not, I don't think they're as great as people are trying to make them. I don't think that they're going to be a Super Bowl team, a Super Bowl contender. I think if they face the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, I'd pick the Chiefs by more than a touchdown. And that's giving respect to Belichick and his defensive schemes. That's giving respect to what Mac Jones has done to this point. But there is context to it. Same with the Bengals. Although I'm big on the Bengals, I only had them winning 6 games this season. What I love about it is that they are no longer a team of just young guys that are a year away. Zach Taylor has gotten this young offense with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Joe Mixon, and Tyler Boyd, and these other guys to really take that next step this quickly. I did not expect them to be this good. And I honestly, after they beat the shit out of the Ravens a couple weeks ago, that's when I knew this Bengals team is for real. They can legitimately win the AFC North. And just like the Patriots, they could legitimately win the AFC East. I actually picked them 2 weeks ago. I said after the Patriots won their game against, I forget who they played 2 weeks ago, I said I think they're gonna win the AFC East. And same with the Chiefs, I think they're gonna win the AFC West. To me, guys, as it currently stands, no disrespect to the Ravens, no disrespect to any of these other AFC teams I am named, I think those are the only 3 teams right now that can actually win the AFC. Just sitting back, watching football last week without the Chiefs, letting them rest, knowing what they've been over the last 4 weeks, I think those are the three teams right now that we have to look at in the AFC. And if I'm being honest with you, I don't think the Bengals or the Patriots compare to the Chiefs. I know the Chiefs have had their struggles. I know that they've had turnover problems. I know that their defense has been insanely inconsistent this year. They have literally been Jekyll and Hyde. They have literally been the worst defense in the NFL and arguably the best defense in the NFL over the last 3 weeks. That's how great the Chiefs have been in defense this week. And I talked about this last week about how the thing I love about the Chiefs and why I feel so confident about them truly being back is the fact that it isn't Patrick Mahomes saving them anymore. It isn't him going out there and saying, okay, I got to drop 35 tonight. No, they put up 19 points and won by double digits against the Cowboys. So the Bengals, although, again, I'm confident they're going to be a playoff team. I'm confident they can even get themselves deep into the playoffs. I don't think they can match up with the Chiefs well enough to beat them in Arrowhead, especially.
The Bengals?
The Bengals. And as great and as knowledgeable and insanely genius as Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels are, Mac Jones at the end of the day is going to have to win them games. And in the end, you're going to have to either have Tom Brady like luck with the referees and injuries, or you're going to have a quarterback and go out there and outduel Patrick Mahomes. And Mac Jones is not that guy, at least not now. I think he's done a really good job of being a game manager, but with their lack of firepower on the offensive side and a defense that does capitalize against bad quarterbacks, you can't expect them to play that well against the Patrick Mahomes who's motivated, knows that he potentially can get this one seed in the AFC. And I'm going to say this, guys, before I turn it over to Trevor. I truly believe that at the season's end, and maybe I'll be wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be. I think by season's end, the Chiefs are going to have the one seed. And here's why. Real quick. They have no tiebreakers against Baltimore. They have no tiebreakers against Tennessee. They have no tiebreakers against Buffalo, and they have no tiebreakers against LA Chargers right now. They can obviously square that up with the Chargers in a couple of weeks. But here's the reason why. As I already mentioned, Baltimore and Tennessee are riddled with injuries. I don't think either one of those teams have a shot at the one seed, even though currently Baltimore does have the one seed. I think that if you look at the rest of the Ravens' schedule right now, I think 4 of their last 6 games are against playoff teams. Yeah. That's rough.
They are literally depending on Lamar all
100%. 100%. Yes. And then that defense is depleted. Yeah. Dude, they have one of the worst passing defenses in the league.
Good linebackers, but yeah, their coverage is rough.
Horrible. Yeah. Yes. And if you look at Tennessee, guys, it's Derrick Henry or bust with that team. I mean, that's one of the few teams in the NFL, maybe the only team in the NFL, that relies that heavily on the run game, outside of maybe the Colts. And the Colts right now are not even a playoff team. So, I hate to be this critical, man, but if you look at it, guys, I mean, are we really, if you guys had to take right now and say for the next 6 weeks, you would pick the Bengals or the Chiefs to win the one seed, who are you taking?
Oh, I'm taking the Chiefs.
Okay.
Or if you had commodity. I don't trust the Bengals at all. 6
more weeks, right? Because the Chiefs also have a head-to-head with the Bengals in Week 15.
I'm not worried about them.
Chiefs, Patriots, next 6 weeks. Who would you be confident in?
Chiefs, Patriots?
Yeah, for the next 6 weeks to win the one seed,
Chiefs.
who would you take?
I'm not taking a rookie quarterback over Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid.
It's not just about the quarterback. I think this comes down to the coaches. Obviously, Bill Belichick knows how to control his quarterback and his rookie quarterback and make him excel and make him a contender for Rookie of the Year. You know what I mean? So, for me, that's a toss up because the way the Chiefs been playing so inconsistent lately, and the Patriots doing the Patriots way, it's a toss up for me. I honestly can't tell you Chiefs, or I honestly can't tell you Patriots, because they're, like I said, Chiefs are inconsistent, and like you said, Patriots have a rookie quarterback. I don't know.
Well, I'm going to say this. I mean, just look at the Patriots' schedule the rest of the way and then look at ours the rest of the way. They have to face the Bills, Colts, and then the Bills next 3 weeks.
They can easily beat the Bills.
Easily?
I believe so.
I mean, I still think the Bills, outside the Chiefs, are the best team in the AFC. That's my personal opinion. I still believe, because I still believe in, you said their coach, and then their quarterback is an X factor in this league. He's an absolute stud, and obviously he's had letdown spots this year, but overall, Josh Allen's had a pretty good year. And that defense is good, regardless if they've had some letdown spots.
But they just lost the White, so
yeah, for sure.
That's a massive loss.
That's a huge loss.
Of course. But I mean,
I think the best team in
Patriots got a tough schedule the rest of the way, and we got to see if they can
actually beat those playoff contender teams. You know, those Super Bowl contending teams. Mm-hmm. Hopefully, we'll see if they can beat the Bills, which I do think.
Faced them twice, and the Colts. The Colts is a tough matchup for them too.
I do think. They might lose to the Colts. The Colts, I think, are a good team.
Oh, yeah.
But it's gonna be a good matchup to see Patriots Bills, just to see what the Patriots, because the Patriots defense is good.
Yeah,
the Patriots offense is good. So, are the struggles for the Buffalo Bills gonna continue? Do we know if they're back to what they were at the beginning of the season because they've disappeared. Like the Chiefs got better, and the Buffalo Bills got worse.
I mean, I think the Bills defense is still higher ranked than the Patriots defense. The Bills offense is far superior than the offense of the Patriots to me. So I just think the Bills are far out the better team in my mind. They've struggled at times this year, but if we're being honest, if you watch the Bills, they've been a good team. They've had a couple letdown spots where they've been embarrassed.
Yeah, by
and that embarrassing. Yeah, that was an embarrassing game. But overall, I mean, that's been an electric offense and a very stout defense.
And this is where my point comes back around about how the AFC fucked up by letting the Chiefs come back into the picture.
It's been a competitive division this year.
Because
AFC's
outside,
been super competitive.
Trevor's 100% right. The only team that can compare to the Chiefs when it comes to overall healthy talent is the Bills, and they just lost Trey White. Like you said, how big... I think that's going to be a humongous loss for them because this team has been banking on their defense to save Josh Allen so many times this season.
It's pretty much like us losing like Frank Clark or Chris Jones.
Or Tyrann Mathieu, basically. He's like losing Tyrann Mathieu.
As far as impact, yeah, I guess.
Because of impact, because of how great he is at what he does. Like losing Tyrann Mathieu,
he's a true number one corner.
the leader, the alpha of your defense. And if you look at, like I said, these teams letting the Chiefs hang around until they finally got themselves back into who they are and what we know them to be. You look at the schedules. We talked about the schedule. Look at the Bengals, for instance. Okay, they have the Chargers coming up, which I do believe the Bengals are going to win this game.
I think that's going to be a good game.
But then they have San Francisco, who might be the hottest team in the NFC right now. They've won with 3 straight games.
That'd be the Packers, but yeah.
They got to go to Denver, a team that can beat anybody. We know the Broncos can beat anybody. We've seen them do it. And then you have to play Baltimore, the Chiefs, and at Cleveland, a Cleveland team that beat them by almost 30 points in Cincinnati.
I will say about San Fran real quick, Debo is out this week, so that's a huge loss.
2 weeks, though. In 2 weeks, though, they play them.
Okay.
In 2 weeks. And then you look at the, like I said, about Baltimore's schedule, which is hefty as fuck. You look at the way that Tennessee's all banged up. New England, Trevor, you mentioned the fact they got to pay the Bills twice. Even if they beat the Bills both times, those are taxing games, man. Yeah, and the Colts. The fact that they have the Colts, you said
3 straight weeks. It's Bills,
and
Colts,
at Miami.
Bills.
And at Miami. That's not that's a hot team too, man.
Yeah, man.
So my point is, I'm not saying that it's guaranteed the Chiefs are going to get this done. What I'm saying though is, in the next four out of the last 6 games for the Chiefs this season are against divisional foes. I don't know if you guys remember, but Patrick Mahomes in his career against the AFC West is 17-3. So my point is, if you look at the trajectory of their schedules and how these teams are playing, I think there's a better case, even though the Chiefs currently right now have the 4th best record in the AFC. I think there's a better chance they elevate past those other 3 teams than those other 3 teams staying above the Chiefs at this current time. Just because, again, the way they're playing, the way that the trajectory of their schedules right now, I think right now the Chiefs have the easiest schedule of those 3 teams. The remaining schedule, even though, again, it's divisional foes. The Chiefs are playing in the best division in football this season. I still think that they have the inner turn or whatever they call that when you're running on track or whatever they call that, the closing lane basically to get that 1 seed. And it's not as crazy as it sounds, guys. I don't think this is one of those seasons though where it's imperative to get the 1 seed with that home field advantage because the AFC is so chaotic. There's no certainties. We've seen so much parity across the board that would it shock you that a wild card team gets to the Super Bowl just like they did in the NFC last year with the Buccaneers? Everybody just thought, oh, you got to get that 1 seed, and the Buccaneers come through. Now, they had a ton of luck go their way. A lot of great things had to go their way, but would it really shock you if that was to happen on the AFC side of things?
No. I mean, and I that's the crazy part about the AFC especially is like almost any team can go from a wild card spot to the 1st seed. Right now, like everyone's like within a game or 2 of each other, or a half a game. Like especially within our division, it's so tight.
There are only 4 teams in the AFC right now with losing records.
Yeah, I mean,
4 out of 16 teams.
Yeah, most teams are only like 2 games or 3 games ahead above 500. Like
Miami's 5-7, and then the rest of the teams are junk. You have the 3-8 Jets, the 2-9 Houston Texans, and the 2-9 Jacksonville Jaguars. So you have all these good teams, and it just falls off the table. So yes, you have your 3. Really, there's only 3 bad teams in the AFC this year.
Yeah.
Only 3.
So you've bought into the Bengals then?
I have bought into the Bengals.
See, I haven't. I don't trust them. They have been, I mean, if we talk about the Bills being, questionable with some of their letdown spots, I mean, the Bengals, Joe Burrow's had games where it's like, who is throwing the football right now? It looks bad. And I'm a Joe Burrow fan. I love the way he plays. I think he's going to be a great football player for a long time. I think he's going to be one of those name brand type players, household names. I think he's going to be one of the greats in Bengals history if he sticks around there. But that offense is great, but I think that defense has had a couple spots where I think they've been a little overrated. I think they won that game last week because of Big Ben. Big Ben was awful. He kept giving them the ball, kept in the red zone. He was throwing pick sixes. Like that game was over from like the 2nd quarter on. So like that wasn't too. I mean, Joe Mixon, granted, has been eating, but they've been playing with like 10-point leads, and he's just been feasting on these teams. And they were with that T.J. Watt, and I don't know. A lot of their wins like have been blow up wins. Lamar was absolutely terrible against them, kept giving them a ball again. So Joe Burrow's had time to had chances to score a lot of points. That offense is electric, don't get me wrong. But I think they're definitely a vulnerable team if you pin them in a corner.
Only thing I want to say about the Bengals real quick, and then we can move on to the Patriots, because I think this is the team that everybody really wants to talk about right now.
They have to be respected.
It's the reason why I bought into the Bengals is because of the fact that the Ravens, was it 4 or 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, beat the shit out of the Chargers 34-6, right? And we're thinking, oh fuck, the Ravens, man, this is the team, right? This is the team to beat. The very next week, Cincinnati beats the Ravens 41-17. So it's like you're taking this team, a divisional foe that's coming off of beating the Chargers at that time. We're 5-2, I believe. 5-2, 4-1, 5-2 at that time.
Something like that.
Beat the shit out of them. You then go and beat the shit out of them, and have now since that game, you're 4-2. The Bengals are 4-2 since that game. Like, you can have those games where a team that isn't legit can, any given Sunday a team. But when you go on a winning record, you have a winning record since that, and you've built on that, and won twice as many games as you've lost since then, to me, that's a team that has not rested on their laurels and has not taken themselves too seriously. They're actually utilizing the underdog card, because nobody picked the Bengals to do anything
momentum
this
right
year.
now, too.
I think you're the only one, Trevor, on this panel that had them winning more than 7 games.
Yeah.
Like,
I kind of like the offense.
Yeah.
I like the addition of Jamar Chase.
I bet if we pulled the tape back right now, we go and see that we all talked about, this Bengals team's going to be good, but just not this year. Like, they're going to be a 9-10 win team probably in 2022, 2023.
Well, it's a young coach, a young quarterback, and I just think if they make the playoffs, if they win the division, and they have a big stage game, I can see them collapsing. I can just see that happening. I mean, but that's heading into the playoffs. But I mean, as far as them winning the division, they got to do that first. I still think the Colts are the better team between them and the Bengals. I do. I just think that the better coach team, the quarterbacks are arguably similar. I would probably take Joe Burrow over Carson Wentz, but I think the Colts are still a team you need to keep your eye on. I think they can go on a run here. I know that was a letdown game. They had the Bucks. They should have beat the Bucks. Yeah, man. The AFC, it's fun though. This is fun. Like I don't know. I don't know what to think about the Ravens, to be honest. They've never we know their identity, but at the same time this year, we don't going into any game, we don't know if they're gonna win.
Right.
I can imagine what their fans feel like. I mean, every game in, game out, you don't really know what to expect. Lamar just threw 4 picks and won.
You want to talk about a game that the Ben Roethlisberger was handing over?
Of course, yeah. And he was giving them every chance to win that game, and they still won. That's annoying, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, by far to me, I think the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. I think the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL right now, arguably with I think the top 3 teams in the NFL are the Cardinals, Packers, and the Chiefs. Those are my 3 top teams right now.
Now let's talk about the Patriots real quick, because I have some opinions on the Patriots. Like you guys, we already talked about. I was the only one that was really big on them, but I had them at 10-7 as a wild card team, because although I was big on them,
yeah, you were higher than all of us.
Yeah, I had them at 10-7. I said Mac Jones was going to play decent. This was at the time I believe Cam Newton was still on the roster. I did say that Mac Jones was eventually going to take over, because I felt like he was going to be the better overall quarterback, and he just fit the system really well. He's just that perfect Patriot quarterback.
He's good, man.
He's good.
Yeah.
But let's contextualize the Patriots just a little bit. Okay? This feels like the Brady era all over again. What I mean by that is the Patriots are capitalizing on a very weak schedule once again. You see the way they're eating against really bad teams.
That division sucks for the most part.
Their wins this season have come against the Jets, the Texans, the Jets, the Chargers, who, again, I never bought into. I think they're very fraudulent.
That was a good game, though.
The Carolina Panthers, who, again, started off hot, but they're like the Broncos of the NFC, where they looked good against bad teams and then started getting their asses kicked. Cleveland, at the time that Cleveland was horrible, Baker's been injured. The Falcons, I mean, are you fucking kidding? And then the Tennessee Titans without Derrick Henry. Yeah. So those are their wins this season. And again, guys, I think the Patriots are good, but here's the thing. They lost week 1 to Tua Tagovailoa, who was injured, 17-16. They lost to the New Orleans Saints, who have been robbed this year of a good quarterback. Jameis Winston was on fire. They got smoked by the New Orleans Saints in New England, 28-13. They lost to the Tampa Bay Bucks, 17-19. That was an ugly-ass game. Bucks are just the better team, yada, yada, yada. Lost to Dallas 35-29, and that's the point I want to bring that game up, because we've seen how Cowboys have. I think the Cowboys are fraudulent. I didn't have them in the playoffs.
The Raiders, dude.
I don't believe in the
Dallas.
Cowboys, but one thing we can say is the Cowboys are one of the more talented teams in football, without question.
Top to bottom, both sides.
That was a game where the Patriots, if their defense, because everyone's talking about how great their defense is, if there was a game this season where the Patriots really needed to put their stamp on it, It would have been the Cowboys game, because why? We talk about the Chiefs defense being so great. What game are we going to reference?
Yeah, they have
the Cowboys game.
They have no game of notoriety that they've really won.
Yeah, the Chiefs held the Cowboys to 9 points. We're sitting here utilizing that game as a point of reference.
Yeah.
Well, I have to do the same thing for the Patriots on the negative side of things, because they gave up 5 touchdowns to the Dallas Cowboys and lost by a touchdown in that game. So, although I am big on the Patriots, I would not be shocked if the Chiefs faced them in the AFC Championship. Would not be. Because that team is so well coached.
Yeah.
The turnover margins are insanely great. They have a really good run game. Their defense is fantastic.
They take the field goals. They take the points. They're very old school type of team.
They are a throwback team for sure. Like our guy Bink from 610 says. They're a throwback team. This is the kind of football Bill Belichick loves.
They run it 35 times a game.
Yes.
Yep.
But that's actually the type of team that the Chiefs, I would pick so comfortably for the Chiefs to beat, because the Chiefs are their greatest asset on defense is what? Stopping the run, right? They have completely transformed that.
Yeah.
And
Ask Derrick
again,
Henry.
the Patriots are so good at stopping the run too that Patrick Mahomes is going to have to throw the ball. Shucks. That really sucks, guys. The Patrick Mahomes is going to have to throw the ball 38 to 40 times. I think I feel okay with that one, especially if it is in Kansas City. And there is a revenge factor for the Chiefs in that game. Think about it, man. The only reason why the Chiefs aren't going for their 4th straight Super Bowl appearance is why?
Tom Brady's ass.
Because of the fact that the Chiefs could not beat the Patriots in the AFC Championship in 2018. You're going to tell me right now if the Chiefs hosted the Patriots again, that wouldn't be a revenge game for the Chiefs where they're like, hey, 3 years ago, man, they took it from us in our house. Let's fucking beat these dudes.
No, I wouldn't say no. It wouldn't be like a revenge game just for the simple fact that Brady's no longer there. That was the main reason, the main focus as to why this could have been a revenge game if Tom Brady was still with the Patriots.
We need to make Mac Jones pay for
It's
Tom
still a
Brady's
Belichick
sins.
team, though.
No,
It's still Belichick.
No, I get it, but the rivalry is Mahomes
D4
Brady.
game.
Yeah, Mahomes Brady, not Mahomes Belichick. So I think it would have meant more of a it would have been more of a revenge if Tom Brady was still with the Patriots and the Chiefs saw him again in the AFC Championship and beat him.
Think about this, though. This would be the 3rd time that Bill Belichick and Andy Reid would face in the playoffs, and right now Andy Reid is down 0-2. So there's got to be this, there's got to be a motivating factor for that matchup. Like, I know that we talked about this a couple weeks ago about, like, what would be the best matchup story-wise for the Chiefs in the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl. Those are still up for debate, but as things are getting closer to those times, I'm starting to buy into this Patriots idea because you're right, Eddie. Tom Brady's no longer there. But, guys, are you going to sit here and act like Mac Jones has not been an absolute replica of what Tom Brady, like, playing-wise is? So, like, I agree. I agree with what you're saying. My point is that if you look at the matchup, it's still very much the same. The only difference, though, is the Chiefs are coming into this matchup, if it was to happen, with a significantly better defense and a much more experienced Patrick Mahomes, because since then, Patrick Mahomes has been an MVP, Super Bowl MVP, and a Super Bowl champion. And it's been to Super Bowl back-to-back times. So there's a lot there on the confidence of the Chiefs getting that victory, and I think that would feel really good for that team as a whole. So right now, as it currently stands, just to kind of put a button on this, and I want to get your guys' final thoughts on this as the AFC as a whole. I think as it currently stands, the team that I think has the best chance of facing the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, because I'm confidently putting the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, I think as it currently stands, it is the Patriots if they get the right breaks in the playoff seedings. If they end up getting the 2 seed, which is very realistic, then I think they're in the AFC Championship. But if they end up getting a 3 or 4 seed and they still win their division, or down below, let's say the Bills still pull this division out, I don't think the Patriots get there, because I don't think Mac Jones is good enough, and I don't think their defense is as good as it looks. If they end up getting a home game in the divisional round, or in the wild card and divisional rounds, then I think they get there, because I think that Patriots home crowd and that home field advantage is very underrated. They are very good up there in New England, Gillette Stadium. I think that would get them there. But as it currently stands, I think that's the best matchup, and I think that's the most realistic matchup in the AFC Championship.
I think the most realistic is the Bills. I think they're the better team, and it's going to come down to the Bills because they face them twice in the next 3 weeks. And I think the Bills are going to take. I think the Bills are going to take both those games.
Wow.
I just think they're the outright better team, far more talented in my mind. Still the better defense. I know that Tre'Davious White is out, but they've been a very good defense all year. The games they've been losing is because Josh Allen just couldn't get it done. I mean, they lost that Jags game. Josh Allen couldn't put up any points. That's Josh Allen's fault. That defense held the Jags to 6 points. It was 9. Yeah, 3 field goals. Like, the defense did a job. Josh Allen couldn't even get a touchdown. That's completely on the offense. So I just think Josh Allen, when the temperatures start dropping, we've seen him play great games in the cold weather. He has those games where he'll run over guys, he'll throw the touchdowns. They have so many weapons on that offense. I like the Bills, man. I think the Bills are right behind the Chiefs, the best team in the AFC in my mind. The Ravens just are too unpredictable, and not in a good way. The Ravens, I mean, we've seen Lamar, like I said, they got lucky on that 5 turnover game, 4 picks game, and they still got the W somehow. That was just, you can't depend on that. I like the Bills. I like the Bills in the AFC Championship with the Chiefs over the Patriots. The Patriots just obviously the coaching has the experience, but Mac Jones, I can see him slipping up, making some mistakes. The running game, doesn't work in their favor. If they're playing from behind, running the ball consistently like that is just going to be tough to do in the playoffs. Especially when you're playing high-powered offense like the Chiefs and the Bills and even the Ravens at times, they can be a high-powered passing offense. So I don't trust the Patriots to get it done. I don't trust the Bengals. I just think there's too much inconsistency there. I just believe in the tried and tested teams like the Ravens because they find ways to win. Like the Bills because they find ways to win. Granted, they've had some bad losses this year, but I just trust the talent of those quarterbacks over Mac Jones.
I don't think I can trust the Bills to get to the AFC Championship for the simple fact that
They've done it.
I don't know if
Last couple years.
they're good enough to make it that far in the playoffs. They haven't shown anything during the season that tells me otherwise. They haven't dominated anything in the
Neither are the
regular
Patriots, though. That's what I'm saying. Like the Patriots
Neither
have had
the Patriots,
maybe the
no.
easiest schedule in the league.
Yeah, but
And so have the Bills, but
it's the Ravens, Bills, and the Patriots haven't told me anything that they will make it to the AFC Championship. But
so who is it then? The Bengals?
no, so I think out of those three, the hottest team is gonna make the AFC Championship. And
It's
I think
whoever gets hot at the right time.
Yeah, and I think it's the Patriots. The Patriots are getting hot and they're getting hotter. So if the Bills show me something else when they play this Monday, if they show me something that they go out there and dominate that game and beat the brakes off the Patriots, then the conversation changes.
Yeah, these next 3 weeks are huge.
But if the Patriots win and they win
momentum is huge,
and they win in a good fashion, that is the hottest team going into the playoffs, and that honestly could be the team to beat if they finish the season strong.
Yeah.
And that could be that team that Chiefs have to face, and it's going to be that team to beat in the playoffs because we know Bill Belichick and the playoffs, they get hot.
Mm-hmm.
So it all comes down as to which of those three is going to get hot at the right time, and it looks like the Patriots getting hot at the right time.
You have to. If we're going to do that, and I have to bring the Bengals back into the conversation.
Of course, talk about hot teams.
They
That's
won
a
6
hot
of the last
offense.
9 games,
Right,
and again,
right.
guys, they smoked the Pittsburgh Steelers, who've owned them for like 25 years. They smoked them both times. They beat the Ravens badly.
Yeah,
I mean, they got the Ravens one more time. San Fran again is hot, so that's gonna be a tough one. But I would not be shocked if the Bengals go 10-6, 11 or 10-7, 11-6. It wouldn't shock me at all. So again, Eddie, I'm actually on board with you. I think it's going to come down to who the hotter team is, and I do tend to believe it's going to probably be the Patriots because of their schedule and things of that nature. But the Bills, man, they worry me. They worry me because they started off the season so good. They were by far the best team in the AFC.
yeah.
By far. Them and the Chargers both were playing great football, right? And then they just tailed off, and at the worst time imaginable, they lose their best player in Tre'Davious White. I think he's been the best Bill on this team this season.
Yeah, you lost him at a home stretch.
Yes!
At a home stretch. Yeah, that's fuck.
Honestly, like him and Dawson Knox have been the best performers on this team. Like they've been both. Dawson Knox has like 9 touchdowns.
They missed 2 games.
Exactly, and then so Trey White, dude, I don't think people realize how
I-
horrible that is.
I
If
think
Josh
that's a
Allen,
massive loss.
if Josh Allen was playing like he did in 2020, I'd sit here and go, nah, this Bills team can overcome that. But because Josh Allen has really regressed, I have to say that Trey White, there's significance to that, especially when you have to face the Patriots 2 times.
And to that, the Patriots have a good defense, and Josh Allen has not been good against good defenses. He struggled back. He struggled against the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, and that's
That
not
was
a
a
good
And
defense.
him and
Strange
Stephon
game.
Diggs have not been connecting
have
this
not been
season.
As of
They-
late,
yeah.
they have. The last 2 weeks, I think Stephon Diggs has 4 touchdowns. So we need to kind of
True, and so they're talking about the hot. Talking about getting hot.
This is what I'm
Getting
saying.
hot.
Like, this is why I trust the guys that have kind of been in this league and they have had that experience because they have been in the last 2 years. They have been doing AFC Championship.
Nope, I get it.
This is a team that has been there. Granted, they faced us and we were the better team. We got to the Super Bowl and won it. But I mean, this is a team that's been there. This is a coach. McDermott's a great coach. I'm not going to act like this guy hasn't been tested. He's from the Belichick tree or from the Andy Reid tree.
No, I get it. Like I said, it can't Josh Allen perform to the level that we've expected him to play. Like how he came out hot in the first few weeks of the season. Can he perform this Monday night? Is it Monday night?
Yeah, Monday Night Football in Buffalo.
Can he perform this Monday night? It all comes down to this game. If the Patriots, like I said, come out and dominate this game, the Patriots are going to the AFC Championship. They're going to be the hottest team because they're going to beat the other favorite that to win the Super Bowl or to get to the Super Bowl.
They would have to face them again, but
Yeah, but if they can't,
And
if
then
the
they immediately
Patriots
face the
come in
Colts.
and just dominate,
Because to Eddie's point, if they go in there and dominate the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo, it's
Then they gotta go
it's cheesecake for them to go back to Gillette and face the Bills, who they just pounded in their house.
well, they go to Indianapolis.
And there is something to Belichick in the way
it's the Colts.
Belichick. I think Belichick, if I'm not mistaken, their last 20 matchup is 15-5 against the Bills. So he knows how to beat this team. Now, granted, the Bills before 2019 were ass for a very long time. Having said that, though, even
Tre'Davious White's out. I mean, that definitely could.
they split last season, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Patriots, one of their 7 victories
Yeah,
were against the
Belichick
Bills.
just knows how to play those guys in that division. Knows how to play.
I think
well.
it's just such a massive loss to the defense that having that, like not having him in the field, it's gonna be massive.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's gonna be massive.
I do think we need to keep an eye on the Colts, see how they finish out the rest of their season, because the rest of their schedule's not too bad. They
I'm
face
with
the
you.
Texans. They face the Texans. They face the they face the Patriots. Cardinals is gonna be a tough one, and they face the Raiders, and they end the year on the Jags.
I just heard 2 or 3 losses right there, and they're not a team that can afford to lose any more games.
mean, possibly.
They're 5-6.
But I mean, if they beat the Patriots and they lose to the Cardinals, they still win 4 of their last 5 games. That they would end with
A lot would have to go right.
A 9-win year.
The biggest question mark
Yeah.
I have on here is, can Carson Wentz stay healthy and can he stay consistent?
You guys remember our prediction show?
I just don't know.
It's
Remember
more
our
about
prediction
Jonathan
show?
Taylor, man.
Remember what I said on the prediction show about how I was so big on the Colts going into the offseason when they got Carson Wentz. They have such a talented roster. They have Frank Reich at head coach. I'm thinking, oh my God, dude, this team could legit get to the AFC Championship and face off against the Chiefs. And I was like so close to penciling him in. But I thought about it. I heard about T.Y. Hilton's injury. I heard about Carson Wentz's injury. I heard about Quentin Nelson's injury. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not buying this team. I can't. They're so talented.
And they're all back now, though.
They're all back now. My
Oh,
point,
yeah.
though, is that you saw the way they were hobbled going into the season, and then against teams like the Buccaneers, a statement game. Like, if they win that game, I'd be like, Trevor, you're fucking right, 100%. I have the Colts in the playoffs, this, where I'm hyping them up, all these things like I am in the Patriots, Bengals.
It's the Super Bowl champs. I mean, that's.
But my God, dude, like I'm just saying though, like they gave up that win. They were up 10 points driving.
Yeah.
And the first drive of the second half, they were driving, about to put that game away, and they would have put that game away. But then Eric Fisher gives up the fucking strip sack. Carson Wentz just goes into a shell after that. I mean, throwing interceptions, and just you see the chaos with this team. They're so inconsistent. For me to sit here and believe they can win 4 of their next 6 games, and that's what they would need to do in order to even have a shot.
I think they could beat the Cardinals, if I'm being honest. I think that's actually a bad matchup.
You got to win 10 games in the AFC to make the playoffs.
I think that's a bad matchup for the Cardinals. Yeah, I do. I think Jonathan Taylor would. If Jonathan Taylor gets rolling in that game, and we've seen Kyler have some terrible games against good defense. That's a good defense over there.
Yeah.
Indianapolis has a very good defense.
I'm not saying you're wrong. All I'm saying is they need to go and do it before I can sit here and start giving them any ounce of confidence. Because although they are talented, great coach, all that other stuff, they got to win games like that against Tampa. You win games like that, I'm going to give you your flowers.
I'm not going to blame them. That was a pick-em game. I mean, obviously the Bucks were the favorites. The Bucks were the favorites, though. I mean, they weren't even expected to win that game.
I'm just saying that first half they were smoking the Bucks.
Yeah,
man.
they were.
They were smoking the Bucks.
I just think they have a good winning formula. You want to talk about the Patriots? I mean, I think they're the better team than the Patriots, honestly. When it comes down to maybe not get quarterback, I think I would take Mac Jones right now just for what he does, and Carson being a turnover machine at times. But they're similar teams. I think the Colts have the better defense. Obviously, they have the better names, and I think they have the better offensive weapons. So I mean, if we're gonna give the Patriots, they have what? They have 7 wins, right?
But no, Patriots are 8-4.
Okay, so I mean, yeah, they're a couple wins ahead of them.
They're 3 wins ahead.
The Colts have 6 wins.
They're 6-6. Okay.
No, 6 and 5.
I thought they're 5 and 6.
5 and 6.
They're 6 and 5. The Colts have 6 wins.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So this AFC, man, it's really about who gets hot because there's so many
you're
teams
right,
with
6 and 6.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's so many teams with 6 wins, 7 wins right now. You know, and the deciding factor could be that schedule, man, between the Colts, the Bills, and the Patriots. You know what I mean? If say the Bills beat the Patriots, but then the Patriots go lose to the Colts, and then the Colts gain momentum. There's so many things, so many different scenarios that can happen, man. And you know, I mean, the Colts could easily leapfrog the Bills and the Patriots if things cracked out their way. So. And then obviously the Bengals, man, they're a hot team right now. I don't believe in them. I just think the inexperience is going to catch up to them. I think they'll have a couple letdown games and they'll find their way out, maybe into a wild card spot, maybe. But yeah, I mean,
Who's leading the division?
It's going to be the Browns. We all know
The Ravens
right?
are the 1 seed in the entire AFC right now.
The Ravens, yeah.
That's how chaotic the
That's what I'm
AFC
saying.
is right now.
Like,
Like, are you impressed by the Ravens at all?
Lamar just won a game with 4
8-3, right?
turnovers.
They're
Like,
8-3, yeah.
Yeah.
8-3, and the Patriots right now have the 2 with 8-4. Tennessee, 8-4.
and that's why Shaggy Shane picked them, because he said they just find ways to win games, which is true.
True, it is
but
true. It's not
ugly,
sustainable,
man.
though. It's
like,
not
that's
sustainable.
going to catch up to you if you
Yeah,
play
you
that
can't.
kind of
You
sloppy
don't get to
football.
a Super Bowl playing like that.
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
When you face playoff team after playoff team after playoff team, that luck runs dry, and especially with Lamar's lack of success in the playoffs.
I mean, they have a track record of
Yeah.
letting let down spots in the playoffs.
You look at Baltimore's schedule, and we're going to move on to the Eddie Hour in just a second. I mean, they're at Pittsburgh this week, where they could win that game because Pittsburgh was ass last week. They at Cleveland, and Cleveland matches up very well against the Ravens, and they're going to get healthier in 2 weeks.
I believe T.J. Watt's out for that Baltimore game.
No, he just
He's
he back?
he's clear of COVID. He's clear of COVID.
Yeah, okay.
And then so after at Pittsburgh and at Cleveland, they have to host the Packers. Then
I think that's the best team in football right
they
now.
have to go to the Bengals, who just beat the Christ out of them a few weeks back. Then they have to host the Rams, and then they have to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers or host the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dude, there's like 3 or 4 losses right there for the Ravens. So the Ravens right now are the 1 seed, and they can legitimately miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's how they can lose the rest of their games.
That's what I'm
So,
saying. The Chiefs have actually
that whole making
comparable
it
to a lot of the
happen,
rest of these schedules.
yeah,
Like we had a
that's what I
tough,
was saying,
we had a very
yes.
tough schedule to start the year, but these divisional games, I have all the trust. I mean, that Bengals game is a wild card game because I think whichever team gets hot will be the deciding factor of that game because these are 2 really good offenses, and our offense hasn't been the same.
Yeah.
But we got to be careful. I mean, I'm not scared of Joe Mixon because I think our running defense has been on another level right now. But Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Those are 3 stud receivers right there. You know what I mean? So that's what scares me about that Bengals team.
And an underrated offensive line.
And Joe Burrow
That
just likes
offensive
to.
line's been
And
good.
Joe Burrow likes to take chances downfield, man. So that's a scary team. That's a wild card game. But overall, these divisional games for me moving forward for the Chiefs, I'm not really worried about them, man. I think they'll be competitive. The Chargers game is the one that I think will be the most competitive because they have the offensive weapons. I don't believe in the offense of the Broncos, but that defense is very good. But defensive teams coming against the Chiefs, we'll figure those games out.
It's going to be a fun month and a half, baby. I
These
can't
schedules
wait.
for everybody, man, is going to be.
All right, let's get to the Eddie Hour. Eddie, I know you always have thought-provoking questions. You always try to get me triggered. Let's see if it works.
I ain't trying to get nobody triggered today. What's the obsession with Sean Payton with Taysom Hill? Like, what's the obsession? What's there?
I put a poll on our Twitter account one time. Who has more blackmail and dirt on their franchise? Is it Taysom Hill or is it Dan Sorensen? Because for some reason these guys continue to have work and find work with their teams. The only difference is Dan Sorensen's not making $60 million like Taysom Hill is. The Saints are literally paying Taysom Hill $60 million in total to be a third-string performer at every position he plays. And I'm going to give Taysom Hill some credit here in that game against the Cowboys. He literally broke his finger, and they put a splint on that finger, and he was still out there chucking the ball around.
He was running all over the Cowboys.
And I think Taysom's got a lot of heart,
He's
a lot
an
of
athlete,
vigor
bro.
and moxie,
Yeah.
and he's good old boy. Guys, that's not good enough at the NFL level to be a quarterback. You have to, at the end of the day, have the talent. And Taysom Hill just clearly doesn't have the talent. He had a 44 quarterback rating through 4 interceptions.
Yeah, as I say, I think his last 3 possessions threw 3 picks.
And the only person out there that honestly believes that Taysom Hill deserves to have that opportunity is Sean Payton. And I don't, to answer the question as honestly as I can, Eddie, I don't understand. I think if I had to take a shot at it, I think it's that Sean Payton has such an ego that he believes he can be the guy that turns Taysom Tebow into an actual quarterback. And it's just not there, man. It's just not there. And it's really sad to see. I mean, Trevor Siemian is not good, but he's better than Taysom
wasn't
Hill.
bad.
And he was
Yeah.
a healthy bench. He was benched as a healthy quarterback. Trevor Siemian could have played in that game, and they would have had a much better chance of beating the
Probably,
Cowboys.
yeah.
So it's sad to see that Sean Payton has this much denial and belief into Taysom Hill because I think it's literally costing them games.
Yeah, I mean, I just think he was looking for. I mean, I love him as a coach, but I just think he's looking for ways to. And he probably felt he could do more trick plays and things like that, and run different option plays. And with Taysom, it was an entertaining game. He's fun to watch. He's a great athlete. But I think he's better off, being, mixed in instead of being the starting quarterback.
Yeah, imagine him being your quarterback. Imagine him being the quarterback of the
Yeah.
Chiefs. I'd be like, what the fuck? It's Tyler Thigpen all over again.
Yeah,
man.
so I mean, like in red zone packages and stuff like that, he's a dangerous weapon in the red zone because he's hard to tackle. I mean, you've seen him hurdle that guy too. I mean, he's a great athlete. I think I think he could play tight end if he wanted to. Yeah, he's just a good athlete, and then that deal that they gave him too with the incentives and all that. It's a strange contract. I I don't know, man. I like him as an athlete. I think he's fun to watch as a football fan. He has that old school kind of way about him. It's fun to watch. But if you want to win games, I mean, it's hard to win in today's league playing football like that. So we saw the Tebow style thing. It was fun to watch. They had success early on, but once the league caught up to it and was prepared for it, there was not much success after that. So I don't know. I see what he's doing, but Trevor Siemian obviously would have been the better. I mean, he's a natural pocket passer, so I think that's what they needed to compete more in that game, in my mind, because they have good weapons. They have some good receivers out there. But also being without Kamara was a huge. I think if they had Kamara, I think they would have beat the Cowboys. I really do.
Really?
I do. I think if you have that, because dude, they had a 34-year-old Mark Ingram out there, like, and Ty Montgomery. Dude, Kamara is an absolute game changer. Running the option with Taysom Hill and Kamara would have been huge, and then being able to dink and dunk to Kamara, a guy that could take it to the house at any time, that would have been a game changer for that scenario. Because it was a close game most of the game until the turnover started happening in the second half. It was a good game. But yeah, I just think he likes Taysom Hill. He likes what he has in him, but it's just not going to work.
Antonio Brown has been suspended 3 games. I'm sure you guys know the reasons why. I want to get your thoughts and reactions.
Yeah, I think that it was deserving for him to get suspended, but I definitely disagree with the amount of the suspension for multiple reasons, and just try to get through it quickly. It's easy. When you commit a felony, a federal crime, I think that there should be more to it than just a 3-game suspension. But it shouldn't shock us, because this is how the NFL has done these types of things with star players. Case in point, about 9 years ago with Ray Rice. When Ray Rice's video of him was not released to the public yet, but the NFL had gotten a hold of the tape of him actually punching his wife, the NFL saw the tape, acknowledged they had seen the tape, and suspended him for 2 games. And then it came out to the public, and you see how horrific it was, him literally knocking his wife out in an elevator and dragging her out of the elevator. Then all of a sudden the NFL wants to take the high ground and say, Ray Rice, you're done. Get out of here. You're released from the Ravens. You're done. It's funny how that works. The thing the NFL is fucking themselves over again on this is the fact that this isn't done with Antonio Brown.
No.
The legal side of this is still very much taking shape. So that means if they find that he was trying to solicit other fake vaccine cards, if he can confirm that he was doing this with multiple parties, then we're talking about him actually facing jail time, legitimate jail time. And I think that the NFL has really put a slap on the wrist on this, and I really find it curious seeing that if Antonio Brown was playing for really any other team in the league, do you guys really think this is only a 3-game suspension? Say if he played for the Lions right now. Say Antonio Brown was with the Lions. You think it's only a 3-game suspension? I think it's very curious to me that Tom Brady's teammate only gets a 3-game suspension in the midst of a season where they could potentially repeat as Super Bowl champions. I found that, I don't want to be Mr. Conspiracy Theorist here, but I just found that very odd. And another portion of all this that I found funny, and I don't want to draw comparisons directly to Aaron Rodgers, but there are certain comparisons. The only one you can't say are the same with this is one, Antonio Brown did, again, commit a felony offense. This is a federal crime. Aaron Rodgers didn't commit a federal crime. But he did violate health and safety protocols, and that should be in line for a suspension. And what pissed me off is that Aaron Rodgers never suffered or was even rumored to suffer any suspensions. And I said, as soon as it came out that Aaron Rodgers wasn't vaccinated, lied to the media, which isn't a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but it's still lying and it looks bad, was the fact that because of the fact he was violating health and safety protocols in a time of all times that you shouldn't be, you're putting other people at risk, the NFL immediately said he will not suffer any punishment as far as suspension. He's only getting a $14,000 fine, which is the equivalent of you and I, all of us pulling about $8 out of our pockets, which is a joke in itself. He only suffered that. And Antonio Brown is now getting the frustration brunt of what Aaron Rodgers did from the NFL on him. It's still not enough, though. It still is not justice served because, again, Antonio Brown is not suffering something that I think is adequate to the type of heinous act he did. According to reports, Antonio Brown immediately panicked after he found out that the franchise found out that he had actually given out had a fake vaccine card. He immediately supposedly went and got vaccinated out of sheer fear. But like Shannon Sharp said on his show yesterday, you can't go rob a store and say, I feel bad, and go take money back. the crime had already been committed.
Yeah.
So even if he did get vaccinated right after, it doesn't take away from the fact that you went and did something that is a felony offense. So he should be suspended for the rest of the season. I don't think Antonio Brown should be allowed to play football for the rest of the year. That's where I stand on, and that's where until we hear any further development of him being innocent in any regard, I don't see how a 3-game suspension makes any sense for this punishment.
Yeah, I think this is a bigger deal than this within the NFL. I think once more information comes out, I think the government is going to have something to say about it. Because they got to make an example about someone doing fraud. It's a felony, man. Like like you said, I don't know for sure if he did go get vaccinated immediately after. I know that's
reports.
That's the
Reports,
story.
yeah.
That's the story coming out of Antonio Brown's camp. So take that with whatever grain of salt you got. This situation, I think he deserves to be suspended for the rest of the year. I mean, I think he betrayed his coach. I think he betrayed his teammates. Just be honest, man. Like, it's not hard. Like, Antonio Brown, we already know you're a strange cat, bro. Yeah. Just be your honest, strange catness. Just continue doing what you're doing.
You can still play football and vaccinated.
You don't gotta lie. You don't gotta be a fraud. You don't gotta do all this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just there's not much more to add to this. I think he does deserve to be suspended more. 3 games, I think, is ridiculous. Honestly, I think Coach Bruce Arians was asked, the status of AB and what the trajectory is moving forward, and when should they expect him. He said that he has no timetable, he has no idea. So I know Bruce Arians is a very blunt, honest guy. I said if he knew, I think he would probably give some kind of answer. But if Bruce Arians doesn't even know...
Bruce Arians is also a coach that didn't want AB.
Well, and Bruce Arians also has a lot of health issues himself.
Yes.
So I think he probably feels extremely betrayed by AB pulling that shit, too, because that could put his health at risk, because he's trying to avoid...
Because remember, before the season, they were posting those photos of the Buccaneers being 100% vaccinated as a team.
Well, I think Bruce Arians has ever been a fan of AB.
No, that's what I'm saying.
He didn't want him to begin with. That's Tom Brady's guy.
He was on the coaching staff with Pittsburgh, and he knew the kind of guy that Antonio Brown was. He did not want him.
Yeah, that was Tom Brady's move.
He did not want him.
You know what I mean? So I think it would be easy for Bruce Arians to give him the finger and say, go find.
If I was the Bucs, I'd cut him. Because the Bucs can still win without Antonio Brown. He has not been a deciding factor for this team. He's been nice.
He's had some big games.
He's had some big games. My point though is they have not. Their end-all be-all has not been Antonio Brown. It's the health of their defense and is the health of their run game, which right now has been absent as fuck. They have to have both of those going if they have any chance of winning. Antonio Brown can be gone for the rest of the year, and if both those are clicking, they can get back to the NFC Championship.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add to that, man.
Pro Football Talk pulled up a quote or an answer that Bruce Arians gave when they signed Antonio Brown. So Bruce Arians to Peter King in October 2020 regarding Antonio Brown. He screws up one time, he's gone. Hasn't happened. They asked him yesterday, like what's gonna happen with Antonio Brown and Mike Edwards. He said for the next 3 weeks they'll just be working out, and then we'll address their future at that time.
See, Bruce Arians is a man of his word, bro, and he doesn't. He's not the guy that cuts guys, and that comes from above him too. Yeah. So that's gonna be an organization decision. Especially if Tom Brady has something to say about it, because he's the one that vouched for him and brought him in. So I guarantee you there's some internal scuffling going on. I'm almost certain Bruce Arians is done with his ass. If you're asking me, I think that's the case.
Comes down to what Tom wants.
It's got to come down to Tom and the front office too. I mean, the GM's got to make some decisions here as well.
Because I guess he said he was pissed off at the situation. So.
Because he was lied to.
Yeah, he has health issues himself.
I'll give Bruce Arians the benefit of the doubt. I truly believe that Bruce Arians did not know about this. I don't think he knew about this. Yeah, dude, there's no evidence to suggest.
He's one of the most transparent coaches. He's one of the only coaches that have ever put Tom Brady on blast multiple times in this 1 year.
When we heard about Antonio Brown's ankle injury, I put it out on Twitter. I go, can we just go ahead and put it out there? Because the report came out that he had a fake vax card. I go, can we just go ahead and put it out there, guys, that he's going to get suspended so we can just get over with the next day? Or was it a few days later? Yeah. Hey, he's got a 3-game suspension coincidentally, guys. That was maybe the same amount of time he was going to be healing up from that ankle injury. Yeah. Come on, man. Like, you guys knew what was going on. He needs to be suspended for the rest of the season. We can move the fuck on from this.
I agree.
This guy's been begging for it.
He's been a nutcase
He's
for the longest
been
time.
begging for it for 3 years now, man.
Yep.
All right. Next question. Warriors have ended the Suns' 18 winning streak. Thoughts?
The Suns, I'm going to give them a lot of congratulations on that, because of the fact that it's very difficult in any league to win that many games in a row, especially when you have a team like the Suns that came off a finals appearance where you have the shortest offseason of all teams. To be able to put together that many wins in a row, that's That's high praise, man, to their coaching and Monty Williams. It's high praise to Chris Paul and his leadership, especially when Devin Booker's been out for the last couple of games with his a hamstring injury.
Chris
I think it
Paul's
was.
been balling, man.
Dude, the fact that this team is playing as great as they are still and as motivated as they are still after a loss in the finals, it's nothing short of incredible. But I got to give the Warriors a lot of credit here, man, because we praised them last week. I'll praise them again this week, man. They are the best team in the NBA, in my opinion, right now. Steph Curry is playing as an MVP. He'd still be my MVP
Clay's
from a week later.
now.
Yeah, dude, the way Clay is coming back within the next couple of weeks. He might be playing actual basketball again for the first time in 2 years. Yeah, Christmas time. So,
Shit's
man, things are looking good for the OKC, the Golden State Warriors, man, because they are clicking on all cylinders, about to add one of the greatest shooters in history back to the equation. As much as I love the Suns and what they've done, man, you got to give the Warriors their flowers here, dude, because they have earned it. They snapped the streak, and again, they have been the best team all season long in the NBA.
Yeah, Wiggins is finally kind of coming into his own role there. Finally, he looked a little lost. I thought they were going to move him this past offseason. I thought they were going to try to trade him maybe for a picks or another player. But Wiggins has been holding his own. They have a deeper bench. They got Billy Asia from the Kings, who's a good versatile player. He can play center and he can be a spread 3, spread 4 too. So they have some good guys coming off that bench. Poole has been a good player, Poole has been a really solid player, a good scorer coming off the bench and starting at times. And then Gary Payton Jr. Has been a baller for them defensively and not a great shooter, but he's very good at getting to the rack.
Isn't it fun to see legacy players like excel?
Man, he's
so
becoming
cool.
a good player too. That was because his first year or so, his rookie year, he didn't get much playing time, but he's been seeing the floor a lot lately. That's just an impressive team on defensively. I didn't expect that their defense to be as good as it is, and it's been really good. The Suns are scary too, man, because they're already a warranted team to respect because they just came from a trip in the finals. But yeah, I didn't expect the Suns to be playing as good as they are, honestly, because I had them kind of as a team I felt like going to be a letdown team this year. But they haven't. But I think the Warriors are the better team still, though, than me, and I think they're going to only be that much better when Clay gets back. I mean, Clay's depending on how he looks, obviously coming off a major injury back-to-back years, is something to give you some pause, but. The Warriors are scary, man. They are scary. Steph's having one of the best years of his career. This late into his career, he's shooting out of his mind. His leadership has been great. He's out there still being arrogant as hell, and I love it. He's out there, taunting refs and shit. That's what that's what you gotta love. Yeah, early on in Steph's career, I hated it because I felt like I didn't know who he was. He was still kind of becoming himself, but that's how he's always been. Obviously, he's got much more respect at this point of his career, and he's balling, man. And that is a scary team. Steve Kerr is coaching his ass off. Monty Williams coaching his ass off. Yep. The Western Conference playoffs is going to be fun this year.
All right. I want to get your thoughts on that record-breaking win for the Grizzlies against my Thunder.
Shellacking, man.
Well, I personally, I love the courage of one Eddie Ortiz, not just going to OKC in a week to go watch the Lakers trounce that ass, but Eddie is wearing an OKC Thunder hoodie on set today after that horrific historic loss. Eddie, I don't want to answer this. I want to get your thoughts on this because you're the Thunder fan here. So Eddie, what was your takeaway on the 74-point victory for the Memphis Grizzlies against your Thunder?
It sucked, but at the end of the day, we're still a young team. We're a young team.
The youngest team.
Yeah.
We didn't expect anything from this team. We're not expecting anything from this team.
Except history being made.
There's some young players on that team I like, though.
Except beating the Lakers twice.
Hey, wasn't one without LeBron. Let's
but I mean, they still had a 25-point lead and they blew it.
Against OKC that just got blown out by 70+. So, I mean, this should make the Lakers fans feel even
absolutely
worse about their team. So,
no John Moran on that Grizzly team.
Lakers fans, LeBron James fans, how do you guys feel?
Hey, I
don't
want to talk. I just cleared protocol, right? I just cleared COVID protocol. I'm putting fish emojis out there because they got me on a false positive.
That game just got out of hand. This is one of those games. One of the worst losses. I think maybe the biggest.
It's the record.
The worst
crazy.
loss ever.
Yeah, I mean.
The previous record was 69, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Two bad teams going at it. I mean, the Grizzlies without John Moran are not a good team. So it's two bad teams going at it. And one side just got hot, and one side just decided to lay down and take it. So
if we heard that the Warriors did that to them, it's still historic, but it's it's Steph Curry.
Still anyone losing
John
by that
Moran
much
out there, bro, one of the 15, 20 best players in the NBA. What the fuck, man?
Yeah. I don't have much else to add to that. I mean, that was just an absolute shellacking, man. And,
it wasn't that bad if you.
It was horrible. talking about?
Kudos to OKC for setting a record.
Bro,
you know what I mean?
I'm watching the Cowboys Saints game, right? I'm not paying attention to anything NBA yet because I told you guys December is when I really lock in, and it's just
I'll
about
watch.
Christmas time, you know. And all of a sudden, I get the ESPN alert. Historic loss by the Thunder. I'm thinking, oh, it must have been like a record-breaking, like game-winning buzzer beater for the Grizzlies, or something like some weird history buff thing, you know. And like, no, they lost by 74 fucking points. Like what the
73, bitch.
My bad. Let me pull all that back.
Get it right.
73-point victory for the Memphis Grizzlies. God. And it wasn't that the game. No, that may not have been the same game, though. Drake was there. Drake was at a Thunder game, and no one knew it.
Oh, the guy that sat next
Yeah, and the
to
guy's like,
Are you
Drake?
famous?
Are you famous?
No, because he looked up at the fucking
Some
at
old
the
white
screen
dude,
thing,
yeah.
And he saw that everybody started cheering. Then he was there and he was like saying hi. He just kind of like
what the
looked at
fuck?
Drake.
What the fuck was Drake doing there, by the way?
He's a big
At
NBA fan.
OKC, that's weird.
Yeah, he
What was he
might have
doing
been
like
in town for a tour or something. I don't know.
Something like there was no correlation.
Maybe he had
there.
a shorty out there. You know, he was.
If Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and
there
James
are
Harden
some
are still
strip
playing
clubs
there, it
out
makes
there.
sense.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I'm just saying though, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook,
probably got
and James
some
Harden, they're
connections.
playing there like in 2011. Okay, Drake's there, I get it. Who are you there to see? Gildress Alexander, whatever his name is, like who?
Yeah, he's a
Hey,
baller.
hey,
He's
I'm
a
just
baller.
saying, like, no
He's a baller.
offense.
I
but
like
like that,
I like
bitch.
Giddey too, but I think Giddey was out too. I think
Just
OKC
saying,
was
like-
without a couple players too, but
He's a good player, but I'm not seeing Drake and Juice World and these guys out lined up to go see those guys play.
Well, Juice WRLD's dead,
Yeah.
so he can't see.
I'm just saying like names, like caliber guys, like guys that are up there in the.
Hey, if he's at head,
I don't see
he's at
Travis Scott and those dudes. Well, Travis Scott's dealing with lawsuits right now, but I don't see like Young Thug chilling at an OKC games. It's kind of weird to see Drake at that
don't know.
game. It was really
Is he
odd.
still famous?
Who, Drake?
Young Thug?
yeah, Thug's still famous. Of course.
Is he still making music?
Yeah.
Why are you naming like this weird rapper that either
I
dead
went
or-
Drake and I dropped the tier.
Young Thug's still famous. He's producing a lot more.
I really tried to figure that out. I listen to other people like. We need to have him as our intro music.
What did he say?
He's one of the kings of the mumblers.
Hold this L.
We also saw the Lakers lose to the Clippers for the ninth time in
I
the
was
12
actually-
matchups.
Yes, I was actually going to ask about that. Like, I know I asked you
Telling you, man,
last
this-
week.
this Lakers team
I
is
know.
pissing me
I
off.
know. I asked you last week. Are you worried about this Lakers team? But obviously, we've seen them play against the Clippers, and
Without
are you
Kawhi.
even Are you even more concerned about this Lakers team? I know it's only been a game or two since last weekend, but are you more concerned about this team? Is this team going in the wrong direction? Do you think they can lift at the right time?
No,
Well,
I told you guys I'm not going to be concerned until this team. It's late in the season and LeBron James isn't healthy. If LeBron James isn't able to play to the level I know he still can play, then I am concerned. But I still believe that when LeBron is fully back, which he will be, this team with Anthony Davis and him and these
back.
casts, I'm saying that when he gets consistently back into the groove where he's played 10, 11 games in the last 13, 14 games, when he starts playing LeBron James style basketball, I truly believe this, because Russell Westbrook, as much as we wanted to shit on him early in the year, has been playing much better basketball over the last 2 weeks.
Hey,
He's
almost
averaging
he's averaging about the same amount of points per game, and their stats are almost identical.
and he's cut his turnovers in half.
Fox.
He's cut his turnovers in half. He was averaging over
He's
5.5
still-
turnovers a game. He's now down to 3 turnovers a game, which is I'm saying that's significant though for Russell Westbrook
Yeah.
because he's a turnover machine. He was leading the league in turnovers. He has now cut those in half, and he's still averaging 24, 8, and 9. You get that kind of production, add LeBron James back to the mix. Anthony Davis is playing really good basketball when he's been healthy because he's been dealing with sickness as well. Guys, I'm telling you, they're going to find the lineup, and they're going to start winning games.
My concern is not LeBron. My concern is not Carmelo. My concern is not the bench. My concern is not the health. It's bad basketball by Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis has been bad this year.
Well, when
He's not been good. He's one of the worst 3-point shooters in the league.
Yeah, he's like 19%. It's been bad. Yeah.
And his defense has not been what it. I mean, his defense is decent at times, but like he has just not been the same this year. And it's not. He hasn't really had any real health issues. He had that little illness, and he had like I think a banged up ankle or something at one point this year. But overall, he's been healthy. He's been in almost every single game. He's just been not performing. I mean, obviously, LeBron's absences at time has been hurting him. Because AD is just not good at being the guy.
Yeah.
Having LeBron on there to run the offense helps AD tremendously.
Yeah, we've learned that Anthony Davis is never going to be the guy for the Lakers.
Of course.
Or any
we
team.
Saw that. We've seen
he is
that.
a great number 2. A great number.
His best seasons came when Rondo was running the offense.
Yeah, he's like a more talented Scottie Pippen, basically. Like Scottie Pippen was never supposed to be an alpha. He was always going to be a great number 2. And
He's far
what
far
AD
more
is.
offensively gifted than Pippen
By
was
far.
in my mind. But yeah, his shooting, man, his shooting's got to get better.
Yeah.
Because this team already doesn't have a lot of good shooters.
Right. Right.
So and they need to depend on AD to score points.
Well, the fact that
he's been
all
bad.
the issues and absences the Lakers have been dealing with, the fact they're still right around 500 should give you some sort of semblance and solace that they're gonna. This team is too good to not be great, is what I'm saying.
Well, and they have
they're gonna eventually get
the
there.
veterans is what's huge. When come playoff time, the veterans that have the will to win and veterans that don't have any rings. That I mean, obviously you have Trevor Ariza who's been on some really great teams in his career, but Carmelo.
Didn't he win a ring back with the day of the Lakers?
Yeah, he won a ring. That's what I'm saying. He's been on some great teams. So he has that experience.
Carmelo needs a ring. Yep.
Yeah. So these guys,
Jordan.
I gotta see some more. This team has just not been good, man.
Yeah.
It just hasn't. They haven't really. I don't know who they are yet as a group, as a unit. When LeBron's out there, they look good. The offense looks good. The offense moves around. LeBron finds guys.
Mm-hmm.
He'll find Russ, cutting behind back door. He'll find AD for a stop and pop or a 3-pointer or at the rack.
But they still lose.
Yeah, no. They have not been able to close games. They have not been. They've been terrible at closing games. Yeah. Their defense has not been as good as we want it to be.
Yeah.
And they got to get some shooters, man. They got to.
Trevor,
Horton being back is big. He's a good energy guy.
How many times though throughout LeBron's career, especially like in the second phase after he went back to Cleveland the second time, how many times have we seen this though, where LeBron utilized him and his teams utilize the regular season as the building blocks to get to the playoffs? I mean that literally.
I'm not worried about them not making the playoffs, but I'm saying when the playoffs time start and the Warriors are the Warriors again,
LeBron got to
and
the
Suns are the Suns
finals.
right now, and the Nuggets are still the Nuggets.
LeBron got to the finals as the 5th seed in the East. That was what, 2016, 2017?
Yeah, but he wasn't facing the Warriors.
I'm just saying, though, like, obviously,
obviously
that's going to be a tougher task.
There's some good Hawks teams. There's some good Pacers teams over there, Paul George. But
look at that roster LeBron had in that season when he was the 5th seed. That roster was not good. He had like Amon Shumpert and Tristan Thompson, and they still got to the finals with ease because why? They used the regular season to get everybody acclimated. They traded like half their roster.
That was a good 5 years ago where LeBron was 5 years younger also, man.
You're going to tell me right now LeBron isn't one of the 5 best players in the world still?
I'm not arguing that.
Yeah.
And like I just said, LeBron's never been my problem. LeBron's been great when he's been on the floor this year.
Right.
His numbers have been insane. He's still putting up numbers that look like his third year.
39-point game
wild.
the other night.
LeBron's
yeah.
still getting his. AD has been my issue.
Yeah.
And we've seen AD not only deal with health issues, injuries, being an injury-prone player, and his performance. Man, we've seen his performance is not. He's not been confident this year, and he's even come out and said, we suck. So if that's in his brain. It's on tape, man. Yeah. So AD's got to be better for this team. I think he's the linchpin of this team. LeBron's going to be LeBron. But LeBron's going to need teammates to perform, and especially when you're an elite athlete like an AD, AD's got to perform like one. Russ is going to be the engine that Russ is every night. He's going to bring it every single night, no matter what game it is. It could be against OKC in a random, middle of the season game, and they're blowing them out by 20.
Yeah, he knows better. He knows not to mess with us.
But the thing is, man, the Lakers just they will get a decent lead, but they blow it, man. They just do not know how to finish games, and that's just weird for a LeBron-led team to not close out games. That's something they've got to. I think once like I said, they get all their veteran guys going, that rotation finally gets really going because they haven't had their full rotation of guys in yet. So once they get everybody going, I think they'll be able to close out games.
But
better.
will they, knowing that they're probably the oldest team in the NBA?
Yeah.
So will they stay healthy? Will they be able to?
Well, this is the funny thing, and obviously we got the Chiefs Broncos preview to get to, but guys, this is what's funny about this whole age thing. I know that they're an older team, but not only historically have older teams still won titles, like the last 3 Bulls teams, as I broke down a few months ago about how those Bulls teams were old and they were still winning titles. The Lakers in the early 2000s were older rosters, and here's the other thing: the Nets are literally 6 months average younger than the Lakers this season. Literally 6 months younger in average.
They're also struggling.
But they have the best record in the East, is what I'm saying. So it's like, we can sit here and break down the Lakers' struggles and say, it's the age thing. It's not. It's just that they all got to get healthy at the right time.
It's a performance thing. They just
it's
have
a
not been playing
performance
good
thing.
basketball.
Thank you.
LeBron's
Exactly.
been the only bright spot of this Lakers team, and he's missed like 10 games.
12 games, yeah.
Yeah. AD has not even been... Dude, I've watched a lot of Lakers basketball already this year. A lot of them. I've watched the matchups with my Kings. Dude, that triple overtime game was hard to watch.
Yeah.
Like they should have beat the Kings like 4 different times.
And I'm not making excuses for the Lakers, but doesn't it kind of feel like they're kind of just looking at this and going, it's so early in the year, man. Let's just get through this. Let's try to stay healthy.
Of course, there's always that
and
argument.
then we're going to flip that
especially
switch.
for a LeBron team. You could be the 9th seed and be like,
if they were a young team,
if
they were a young team struggling like this, I'd be like, fuck, man, I don't know. I'm really struggling to give confidence. This team is they are loaded with guys that have had success and hungry for success individually and have been in this league for a long time. I just think they know, like, okay, it's December 23rd. Let's turn that shit on, man. Let's go.
Similar to how we felt about the Chiefs when they were down.
Yeah.
I'm not confident in this Lakers team right now, too, but I do. They'll
rise. I truly believe they'll
There's a
rise.
chance.
I don't have them as the 1 seed. I never had them as the 1
Yeah,
seed.
yeah.
I don't think they have a shot at the 1 seed now, especially.
Not with
But
the Warriors and the Suns playing the way they are.
Guys, I'm telling you right now, there is a psychological advantage though for LeBron against the Warriors though. If LeBron faced the Warriors with a healthy Lakers team, I'm picking the Lakers. I know that sounds crazy now.
I would too.
Because it's so early in the year.
But there's so much nuance and context that goes into how healthy the Lakers are.
Right, that's what I said. A healthy
When
Lakers
Klay
team.
Thompson comes back, is he going to be the same guy?
Right, there's a
And if
lot
he-
of questions,
and if
guys.
he
And
is, it's
LeBron took them down in historic fashion. That still is there. I'm telling you, that's still there. LeBron owns the Warriors in a psychologically
It's the same thing
without Kevin Durant.
It's the
Let me
same thing
preface that.
with the Toronto Raptors too.
Yes.
he had them beat in their brain.
The Boston
You know what I mean?
Celtics.
Yeah.
Once he got himself a team, he started beating the shit out of the
brought
Celtics.
Kyrie. They thought Kyrie was going to flip the psychological side. Nope. Kyrie got his ass
Game
beat.
7 in Boston. Good night.
Yeah.
Paul Pierce over there.
Yep.
All right, what we got? What's
All right,
next?
man.
Eddie?
Last question.
All
Let's make this the last question. So I believe this is the first year where Big Papi is in the ballot for the Hall of Fame in the MLB.
Yeah.
So I did see one of the voters. He did post his card online on Twitter, but he didn't have Big Papi selected. But he had Barry Bonds. So my question to you is Big Papi making the MLB Hall of Fame this year, or what's more likely, Big Papi making it, or Barry Bonds finally getting recognized?
I'd be shocked if Barry Bonds makes it this year. Not because he doesn't deserve it, because he's the greatest baseball player in the history of baseball. I don't care what anybody says. Mike Trout could go for that eventually, but I think right now as it stands, a guy that has 7 Gold Gloves, has over 700 home runs, the most walked player in MLB history. I think he has 3 times as many walks as he has strikeouts in his career. Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame already, so it's a shame that we're even talking about this as it currently stands. It's also a shame that Papi doesn't get the recognition he deserves, because not only was he a larger-than-life personality and one of my favorite players of all time, but he was also the most clutch hitter in the history of baseball. No one ever compares to him. Yep. He literally, in that 0-4 series against the Yankees, the most insurmountable comeback of all time in sports history was 3 walk-off hits by Papi in that series. He was the most clutch player, and I hate this. This is where, man, you're going to set me off again. I'm telling you guys right now, it's going to set me off. I'm trying not to. I'm trying to really hone it in right now. Okay, we're good. All right, so DHs get this disrespect because it's only a 1-league position, where the AL has a DH, and they think that it's like a fringe player. Well, if you notice, guys, the majority of DHs can do what really well? Hit. Because why? They're called a designated hitter. Can you name me a single DH in the history of baseball better than David Ortiz at hitting? You can't. He broke all of Edgar Martinez's records. Oh, by the way, guys, Edgar Martinez is where? In the Baseball Hall of Fame. Yeah. So if he can make the Hall of Fame, Papi should be their first ballot. I think Papi still gets in. I don't think Bonds gets in this year. So to your scenario, who has the better chance? It's going to be David Ortiz, because he doesn't have all those alleged lists. I know that Papi has had some questions. Nothing has ever been proven that he took any steroids. You guys know I don't give a fuck about that anyway, but some purists do for some damn reason, even though we have guys in the Hall of Fame that literally killed their wives. But, that's not a big deal. But, don't shoot up. Don't use steroids. What are the children going to think? But I think Papi's going to get in there. I think Bonds eventually gets in there. But if I had to take my bet as to who gets in this season, because it's not Bonds' last chance, I think it's going to be Papi.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a shame that he's not already in there already. I mean, this is one of the greatest.
Oh, you're talking about Bonds, right?
No,
because this is
well,
I think this is Papi's first chance.
First chance, yeah.
It's 5 years after he retires.
Both in my mind. I think that both these guys should already be in there, man. I think these two are the greatest hitters of all time. And especially with Papi, like you laid out perfectly, the biggest moments, the biggest games, Papi was the guy. He was the key cog to the greatest run in sports history, the greatest comeback in sports history. He was the guy doing it. He was the guy. I mean, obviously that was a great team and great effort as a team coming back, but he was the guy making the biggest hits in the biggest moments in the biggest series in baseball history, pretty much the greatest comeback ever. And I mean, just for what it meant to those fans, for what it meant, to that franchise. He's a legend, man, and not only Boston sports, but just baseball in general and sports. Everyone knows who Big Papi is. I mean, he's one of the most notable players in baseball still, and he's not even playing. So he has that voice. He just has everything about him. He has he's a legend. So the stats speak for themselves. The records speak for themselves. The clutch records speak for themselves. What he did in those games was unmatched, man. He was one of the greatest hitters. I mean, he was, like you said, he's a designated hitter. They have one job, and it's to hit the ball, and he did it better than anybody in his time. So, yeah, I just think, I have no doubt in my mind I think he should get in. I think he will get in. The Barry Bonds shit annoys me too because I love Barry Bonds, one of the greatest players, if not arguably the greatest. Some people think he is the best hitter and better player of all time. I'm not going to argue that. It is what it is. I think Barry Bonds, I think that argument is valid. The juice shit is annoying to me as well. I mean, there's a lot of people doing it at that time, so it was fair game. I think it should be legal in my mind, but it is what it is. I would like to see them both get in, obviously, but I think Poppy has a better chance as of right now.
I mean, real quick, if you didn't have a name attached to this, okay, you have 1,419 runs, 1,419 runs, 2,472 hits, 632 doubles, 541 home runs, 1,768 RBIs. Like, you hear those numbers, you're like, oh, that's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
When do you line
He's
him
a
up?
shoo-in.
Is that Albert Pujols you're talking about? No, that's David or fucking Ortiz,
Yeah, dude.
man.
That's a DH.
It's a DH, bro. Like,
He's insane.
I mean,
bro.
look at this is 2000 when he started, or I'm sorry, this is 2003 on. Okay. These are his home run totals: 31, 41, 47, 54, 35, 23, 28, 32, 29, 23, 30, 35, 37, 38.
Consistency,
At 40 years old, he hit 38 home runs and 127 home run RBIs, 48 doubles.
I'm telling you, man.
With
He's a
a
fucking legend,
315 batting average at age 40.
So I'm saying it's a shame to me that he's not already in. Like, I feel like this. I know this is his first chance, but
percentage of
the dude should have been a shoe-in after that series was over in Boston. That should have been. He's like, oh yeah, just
His
mark him down.
His OPS at age 40 was 1.021, which was the fourth highest in his career.
At that age too.
OPS, yeah.
Yeah, at that age.
On plus slugging, 1.021. That's at 40
One of the greatest
years old.
pure hitters of all time. man.
Unbelievable, man.
Granted, he has a lot of strikeouts, but I mean, DHs get that. But the
batting
dude's
315 with that many home runs and RBIs
so
at
clutch
40
too.
years old.
Like, yeah.
One just real quick.
Yeah.
You think Sammy Sosa's making it into the Hall of Fame?
I don't think so, but I would love to see Sammy in there.
I mean, if Bonds makes it, I feel like Sammy has to.
The difference between Bonds and Sosa was that Sosa wasn't a great fielder.
For sure.
He had this little run of home runs.
But I mean, we're talking about
Bonds had a career of
talking about
greatness.
David Ortiz getting in because of his being so great at just hitting the ball, which is his position.
Again,
but
I would have Sosa in the Hall.
Yeah.
I would because you can't tell the
he was
story of
an
baseball.
incredible hitter, man.
You guys remember the story? Remember after 9/11,
Yeah.
runs out of Chicago out of the bullpen
With the flag.
when he's running.
Incredible.
That was just
dude,
like
Sammy Sosa's fucking incredible, dude. I remember watching him as a kid.
one of the greatest home run swings when he
so
jumps when he hit it, then
Yeah.
jump, do the little jump. Like you can't
even
tell the
though he
story
looks like a
without.
strawberry starburst now, you know what I mean? Like,
you got some big names in.
dude, Sosa's a fucking legend, dude.
That's funny, he looks like a strawberry starburst.
He does. You seen him wearing that pink
I
fedora,
think
and
he
he's
looks
like the
like
exact
uncooked
same
chicken.
color.
I think he looks like uncooked chicken now. That's what he, like. If you just got like a chicken.
Is he still alive?
Sammy? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's like 51 years old.
He's like
not
a
even
hermit.
old.
Now you don't hear from him much anymore.
He's not even old.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, some of these names.
Yeah,
on
the
this
class
list,
is-
It's what you got: Manny Ramirez,
My favorite player of all time.
Man Ram's gotta make it eventually.
Alex Rodriguez, Mark Teixeira, Roger Clemens, Prince Fielder. Holy shit, Barry
All Hall of
Bonds.
Famers in my mind, man.
God damn.
All those guys
So
deserve to be in there.
Every single one of those guys should make the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely, man.
Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens should already be in the Hall of Fame. It's
bullshit.
Mark McGuire should be in, or he is now, I think. Sammy Sosa should get in. Like all these guys should get in. It's like baseball's got to get over themselves, man.
What does the Hall of Fame stand for? The impact these players had for this game and what they did as personal individuals and statistics and the impact overall. No one has done it more than the guys, the David Ortiz, the Barry Bonds, the Mark McGuires, and the Roger Clemens. All those guys impacted the game.
You guys remember my rant back in
They made
the
the game what it
summertime
is.
when I said that steroids should not matter and how all these guys literally, if baseball wants to take this high horse approach and say you can't make our Hall of Fame because you did this, you cheated, and all this other stuff, even though it was not cheating, it was literally something everybody was doing, then what they should do is take all that money they made off those guys because baseball had never been more popular
Right.
than when Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, and Bonds were
The
doing what
golden
they're
era.
doing. Okay, take all that money you made and give it to charity. Donate everything. Delete all their stats. Say their stats don't count. Oh, wait, no, they still are on the books, right? Oh, wait, they still used all those billions of dollars they made off those guys, right? Okay, so if you're going to keep those things intact, then their legacies should stay intact, and they should be where they belong, which is in the Hall of Fame. Alex Rodriguez, I don't give a fuck if he cheated or not. I don't care if he used steroids. I don't care if Roger Clemens did, because you know why? Those guys entertained me, and that's why you watch sports, right? To be entertained. I don't care if Johnny Depp is high as fuck on a set, or Christian Bale is drunk. If those guys are making performances on the screen that I like,
the game, Lance.
yeah, exactly. That's why I told you guys it's no different. It's no different than movie stars or musicians. Sports athletes are no different than musicians or movie stars. They're entertainers.
Or like
So let them
WWE,
entertain.
you know, like we all know these guys are juicing in the WWE.
If Tom Brady is HGHing right now, I don't care.
Yeah.
Because he's still bringing people to the TV screen.
And it's great for the league. He's great for the NFL.
If we find out LeBron is juicing, I don't give a fuck.
benefits the
because we
sport.
like it.
Yeah.
We like them playing, right? We all, whether you love or hate LeBron or Tom Brady, do we not watch them play? Because why? They're polarizing figures.
That's why.
Who
That's
gives a
why
shit?
it should be legal all the way around. Everyone should be able to do it. If you don't want to do it, that's on you.
That's on you.
Yeah, but
Lance Berkman talked about that all the time, about how
Exactly.
he did not juice, and he saw his career start to dissipate because he knew, I can't keep up with these guys that are doing it, but he said it's okay because I chose what I chose. Those guys chose what they chose.
Of course.
Come on. This is okay. You got me. Well done. All right, so we're going to move on, guys. We usually do the Monday mailbag, and I am going to get to our guy Stan Simmons because he was so gracious enough to give us a voice note today, as he always does each and every week now at this point. But we are actually going to do something a little different. I wanted to make this announcement on the show so you guys can hear it and not just see a post on the Spoken's Facebook group. So instead of doing the Monday mailbag, what we're now going to do, we're going to transition to another style. What we're now going to do to make it more of an interactive show with you during the show, we're actually going to be reading your guys' comments live on the show, whether it's a question, a concern, a statement, whatever it is you guys want to talk about. We're going to dedicate a time during the show, usually right in the slot of when we use the Monday mailbag, and give you guys that time. So it's essentially the same thing, but it's not going to be a week-long post. It's going to be during the show. You guys post a comment, you guys submit a question, whatever it is you guys want to talk about, just like on the Monday mailbag, and we'll get to that. So that's what we're going to do. Before we get to the actual preview for the Chiefs Broncos, though, and Eddie, I don't know if we have any comments or not. I don't know if you guys have seen any or not, but I actually want to get to our guy Stan Simmons because he's always got great questions, and he did drop us 2 lines. So let's get to our guy Stan Simmons in Fresno, Cali.
Hey guys, what's up? Well, in a few short weeks, it's going to be Christmas. I remember my childhood growing up in Kansas City, waiting for Santa and opening up presents. My most favorite gifts were getting a bicycle at 8, getting an electric football set at 10, and an air hockey game at 13. What were your most treasured gifts you received at Christmas?
Ooh, okay. That's a good question, actually. I have to think about that because we don't listen to these before we do the show, so
Yeah.
this is really on the spot.
I think I have mine.
Oh man, you know what? I'm gonna find a way to keep it sports related because this was one of my favorite gifts. I remember back in like 03 or 04, I got a Trent Green jersey. And Trent Green, before Patrick Mahomes, was my favorite Chiefs quarterback of all time. And I remember literally getting tears in my eyes because I was so excited because we would always play football every single weekend. And I would wear my Trent Green jersey, and I thought I was Trent Green because that dude could throw the ball over the field. And I always felt so cool, like being the Chiefs quarterback. So I'm going to say probably that's... or our first PlayStation.
I was gonna say PlayStation.
I knew you were gonna say.
Well, it was between PlayStation and N64.
Yes, yeah.
Dude,
We
we got GoldenEye and all that shit.
God,
oh my
man,
goodness,
yes.
dude, yeah.
So that, yeah.
Gaming systems for us were so huge
Yes.
because when we were younger, gaming systems were becoming.
We have cell phones.
They were
yeah.
evolving as to
Yeah.
like what they are today, and obviously far more today. But yeah, I mean, ours was like the golden era. N64,
Yep.
PlayStation first became a thing, and like a decade later, Xbox came out. But like the early PlayStation N64 days. Some of the best gaming consoles, man. So yeah, I think N64 or PlayStation were the two for me.
Shit, mine is 2, and I remember clearly. The first one is a Super Nintendo. My dad
there it
got
is.
us for Christmas. We're still out in Mexico, and obviously we couldn't afford none of that stuff, so we never kind of like got the idea of like wanting it or anything. We didn't write it on a Christmas letter to Santa or anything like that. And one day, my dad just brings us a wrapped gift. And then me and my 2 sisters, we opened it, and it happened to be a Super Nintendo, and he had bought a Super Mario Bros. 3, I think, that came
Nice.
with it. We as a family, we probably played it for like months as a family.
The system was hot when you turned it
Yeah,
off.
so it's like one person would die and then we'll pass the remote to my mom. She would die.
That's
my
so
dad
cool, man.
died, and that was amazing. And then the next one was about 04, 05. My parents got me a soccer jersey for my favorite soccer team. They just came one day and they're like, "Here."
Fuck yeah. He's like,
Yeah, that's.
I fucking love you guys.
I believe
Was that your first gaming system?
That was my first gaming
Nice.
system. I believe the jersey was either the day before Christmas or the day after Christmas. I can't remember, but it wasn't on Christmas. And I know it was literally around Christmas.
Yeah.
So that was pretty.
That's badass.
Yeah,
man.
I remember that system. And we never got one of those for Christmas because Uncle Bo always had one. Remember he had this, and we played like Skate or Die and all
Yep.
that stuff on there. Yeah, man.
love Super Nintendo.
Hell yeah, of course.
That's actually a good question, Stan. Believe it or not, I mean, Stan's always got a great fucking
Now I'll
question.
feel the cheer.
Exactly.
The cheer.
All right, let's. Stan's got another question for us, guys. Here we go.
Shit.
Hey guys, second question. Now that we got the feel good question out of the way, I gotta disagree with my man Lance on that past subject. A few months back, Trevor was going to give an L to the NFL for extending the regular season from 16 to 17. I hate the odd number 17 games. I also don't like the second-seeded playoff team not getting a bye week. I know it puts extra dollars in players' pockets, but it seems uneven and not right to me. How do you both feel about it now?
I love that question. I love that question, Stan, and I respect the fact you disagree with me because I understand the uncomfortability factor that comes along with it. But as I explained when we got the announcement, when we first heard the announcement from Adam Schefter in the NFL that they were going to move to 17-game schedule, the reason I was all on
Adam
board
Schefter?
with Adam Schefter was the one that broke the news.
Oh,
I'm
gotcha.
sorry. Yeah, I was trying to give him credit for breaking the news,
yeah.
but
Gotcha.
yeah, when the NFL made that official.
Gotcha.
The reason why I was on board with it is a few reasons, and I'll stand by it because I think it is still very much working for the league. Obviously, the dollar signs and all that stuff works out. The economics of it makes a lot of sense for the NFL to continue to adapt and always stay ahead, and that's why they're king. They have a great product, and they want to give you more of it. And as us consumers, we're never going to complain for having more football, more meaningful football. But it also puts the pressure on getting rid of preseason games, which is always a great thing for me, always a plus, because it's not real football. It's just the simulation games, and I feel those are very frustrating for us fans.
Yeah, they account for a lot of injuries too.
Exactly. That's another part of
Unneeded
it.
injuries.
But also, I always go back to this point. It's 1978 when the NFL decided to go from 14 games to 16 games. I don't recall anybody bitching about that back then because, oh God, we get two more games, and the league did what since then? Elevate to a level that no one ever saw coming, right? No other pro league in the history of America has ever been more successful than football is right now. And I think a lot of it has to do with decisions like that. Decisions for them to move on from 14 games to 16 games. This 17-game schedule is not going to last. The NFL has been very clear about that.
Yeah.
They are eventually going to get to 18 games because there is the law right now. The league, the CBA has an agreement that you only can have 20 games total. Well, they can do that as far as the league is concerned, still having an 18-game schedule. You can still get away with only a 20-game schedule if you keep it within 18. That's what's ultimately going to happen because I agree. The odd number is odd, but it's not going to be a long-term thing. By the end of this next CBA, you're going to have an 18-game schedule. That's
And I
what's
believe
going
there will
to
be
happen.
two seeds with the bye week.
And 2 seeds
They will
with the
bring
bye
that
week
back.
will come back. That
Yeah.
will come back because of the odd schedule. They have to keep it to one. But honestly, guys, I'm gonna be real with you. When it comes to the 1 seed getting the bye week and only the 1 seed, I actually like that. The reason why is because it adds incentive for you to fight for the 1 seed. Because if you know, oh, well, I can be 11-5 and get the 2 seed
Yeah,
and
still
get
get a
that
bye.
bye week still. There's not as much incentive for me to play later in the season, and you lose quality games as the season progresses. So the teams don't stop. They stop playing for seeding in week 15 and 16. As opposed to teams going, hey, we're 2 games out and we got 4 games left to
But
go.
we're adding another team into the playoffs, though.
What's that?
So they're adding another team into the
Absolutely.
playoffs, though. So, I mean, a second bye week still makes sense, though, because, I mean, you could say the other teams that wouldn't have made it previously into a wild card spot can now.
Yeah.
So those teams can be like, oh, well, we can still make it into the playoffs with this record. Like, I still feel like that kind of mindset still will exist when they add another team. If they didn't add another team into another playoff spot, and there's only 1 bye week, that would make sense. But teams can still stumble into the playoffs with the 500 record.
Right.
So I
I
see that, but
I think I like that better. The 1 seed getting the bye week because you earned it. You know
Yes.
what I mean? As a being the best team out there. So, I mean.
But I mean, the top seed isn't always the best team, though.
But for me,
You know what I mean? Like,
but for me,
But if you earn that one seed, regardless if you're the best team or not, you should get the bye week.
But for me,
only seed.
to your
in a shitty division,
to your
then.
idea, what I think that they should do, kind of going on your idea, is go away from divisions and then go
Oh,
from
shit.
from
We've been
top,
wanting that for years, man.
Just
top
two
to
Yeah.
bottom.
conferences.
top to bottom.
I don't like divisions in sports,
Best
period.
records,
Best
the best
records,
7-8
yeah.
records get the playoffs.
There you go.
I think that's an archaic structure, and that I mean, the way, and I will say this too. I think why the NFL is doing this, I don't like it this year. I mean, obviously this is the first year we're doing it, so this is going to kind of like we'll see how the playoffs play out.
year.
Oh yeah, it was
last year,
Okay,
too.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm not a big fan of it still. I would like one more game, make it an even number. And just everything.
It's happening. It's going to happen.
Yeah, so once we get to that point, I think I'll like it better. And I do think, I want to say this too, I think the NFL is as big as it is already, as the juggernaut in sports it is already, I think it's still growing, which is scary. Which is why I think we're talking about implementing and starting new franchises, abroad and things like that. I think once that happens, dude, the NFL is going to...
I think when they add the 18 games, I think there will be 2 franchises that come into this league. I do see it.
I mean, I think the UK definitely wants a team.
So
for
I think if they go into 18 games, you will see 2 new franchises in this league.
That's exciting. I'm not big on the travel. I'm sure the players aren't too happy about maybe having to travel abroad for games like that. With
No,
the
they
time,
will not be happy
The
about
time
that.
differences and things, the jet lag that they'll probably experience. That's gonna
What
be
I,
rough.
what I would love the NFL to do is kind of go east and west.
Yeah.
Kind of like the west and the east, and then obviously you'll
You can't have
the 2.
divisions anymore if you go
Yeah,
international. You can't.
That's what I'm saying. So I think
How you gonna have a team go out, play a team that plays in London twice a year? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You're gonna go there every single year like that? Fuck that, dude.
yeah,
No way.
that would be hard on players. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the NFL. But I feel like the NFL is only doing this because change only really comes when growth is happening. You know what I mean?
It's
you
growing
can't
and
be
it has to
regressing and wanting to change.
and
Like,
you can't
change-
expect, the league to
It's
stay the same
expanding.
forever.
Yeah,
man.
the league is expanding. I think they see dollar signs elsewhere, and there's other opportunities. And
43 years ago, they saw that potential and they took it.
And it only
And it
did
only
what?
elevated
Yeah.
the game. If they stuck to 14 games,
Yeah.
you're going to tell me that this game would be the exact same as it is right now? No.
Well, more than ever, the fan base abroad has been growing tremendously.
Our guy Brad
Especially in
Simcox
the
out there
UK.
at Brit Chief can
Yeah,
attest to that.
especially in the UK for
need to
sure.
get him
So
back on the show,
I think it
man.
only makes sense for us to do that, but I think the players are going to be, not too happy. But it will be cool though to see maybe the UK and the European countries, maybe start developing some good football players because there's already a shit ton of great rugby players on that side of the world. So who knows if a lot of those rugby players, athletes can become football players, and maybe translate.
to-
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that would be kind of cool to see that evolution of the UK becoming a football kind of, part of the world.
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool to see.
Yeah, I do see it. If they add 2 more teams to this NFL, I do see him going away from division.
It is funny watching
I would
those
hope
games
so.
when they are over there, even in Mexico too. It's like you look in the stands and it's like a mixture of all these different jerseys and different teams. It's like it's
Which
funny.
is fucking amazing. It's
Yeah, it
great.
is cool.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah.
So I mean, we'll see. Which I do think Mexico and the UK will be the 2
Yeah.
expansion teams.
Mexico makes a lot of sense.
That's
I'm
just
still
me.
not big on the UK thing. I probably never will be,
Mexico's so
but
close.
I don't want to be a hypocrite here and talk about change is good and then sit here and try to downplay what that could potentially bring to the NFL. I've just never been big on the whole international aspect. I would like it to stay more in-house in America because I think that's only fair to the players because
Money.
we see how players don't want to play for the Toronto Raptors. Free agents do not want to go there because they don't want to play in fucking Canada. They, you know what I mean? They don't want to go internationally all the time. It's annoying. So,
Yeah, I mean, Kawhi didn't want to see it after he won a ring. Like,
you know what I'm saying?
Hey, I know Mexico. There's a new stadium that's gonna come up here. They're probably gonna break ground next year. I want to say.
Yeah.
With NFL in mind. So
Yeah.
this stadium's gonna be built for soccer and NFL. So,
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
We appreciate our guy Stan Simmons, and like I said, we would love to hear from all you guys. That's why we do this. You guys are just as much a part of this show as we are, but we are going to transition from the Monday mailbag to now live on the shows. We'll come up with some clever name, I'm sure, but we just wanted to let you guys know that now on the show, so that way you guys are fully equipped and ready to go for next week, and you guys can chime in and get your guys' voice heard as well. We need to get to our Chiefs and Broncos preview. I'm so excited we're finally going to be talking about a Chiefs game, like I said at the beginning of the show. Look, I have to be honest with you guys because I'm trying to give you an opinion that is balanced and honest and upright as I always try to do, but I can't hold it in, guys. I am so excited about this Chiefs-Broncos game. And it's not just because it's an historic Chiefs versus Broncos rivalry historic game, and I was really looking forward to getting Jason's thoughts on this, but we'll talk about it in a recap next week with him. But to tap into the mind of knowing what this game means just in the divisional aspect of things is immense. But the biggest reason I'm excited is not about the matchup when it comes to the historics of this or the fact that the Chiefs won 11 straight games against the Broncos. It's the fact that I truly believe the Chiefs are going to win this game convincingly. I know that's not been something they've been doing lately. Well, of late they actually have been. They beat the Raiders soundly in Las Vegas, and they beat the Cowboys by double digits. But that's not something they've been doing all season long, and quite frankly, over the last 2 seasons. They've not been beating teams convincingly. Mm-hmm. But guys, I really believe there is something to the Chiefs owning the Broncos. I know the Chiefs have had their struggles. But coming into this matchup, I think that the Broncos are catching the Chiefs a lot like the Raiders did, which was at the absolute worst time. The Broncos are coming into this game on a big win, just like the Raiders were coming into the Chiefs game. They were feeling pretty good about themselves as well. And then what do you see the Chiefs do? Annihilate the Raiders. There's something to the Broncos this season that I think that we need to address, and I told you guys that I would. It's the fact that this team has been so up and down in matchups that they've had throughout the season. I'm going to break this down. And Vic Fangio, guys, is one of the best defensive minds in the NFL. But Patrick Mahomes has had very little difficulty playing at a high level versus Fangio's defenses. Not only is Patrick Mahomes 4-0, the Chiefs are 4-0, he completes 75% of his passes, has 234 yards per game, 4 touchdowns, and only 1 interception with a 111 quarterback rating. And the yards and touchdown totals may not jump off the board for you, but you have to know there's context to it, like the fact that in 2019, their first matchup, Fangio versus Mahomes only threw for 76 yards and a touchdown, but completed 10 of his first 11 passes before exiting the game due to a knee injury. Yep. So he was on pace to just absolutely throttle them. And then the second time they faced, Mahomes only had 200 yards and 1 touchdown, but that's because the defense and special teams scored a touchdown and was 30-9 before the fourth quarter. So he didn't really have to go off there and do what he needed to do. But we've seen Patrick Mahomes have a lot of success against Fangio's defenses. And I don't expect that trend to change at all, because as I broke down on Twitter a couple days ago, guys, although the fact the Broncos have given up the 10th fewest passing touchdowns and 8th fewest passing yards this season, they've faced the 26th, 31st, 27th, 16th, 24th, 17th, 19th, 22nd, and 15th ranked defenses outside of the Cowboys and Eagles. Now, they played very well against the Cowboys, but I think that we're all starting to see again, as I said earlier in the show, that the Cowboys are a pretty fraudulent team. They're very talented, but longevity-wise, they were not a team that I think was going to be able to sustain the type of offensive success that they had early in the year when they were averaging 32 a game. That just wasn't realistic, and that's starting to show. And they played very well against the Chargers last week. But guys, this is what I'm talking about. They go and blow out the Raiders or the Cowboys, and the very next week get blown out by the Eagles. And I think there's a trend here, because now they're coming off a game, like I said, against the Chargers, where they go out there and win 28-13. They come into Kansas City. There's a trend here because, like I said, from the Cowboys game to the Eagles game, you saw a night and day difference. I think that's what we're going to see in this game, guys. I think that you look at a team like the Broncos, who again are stout defensively, have a ton of talent on offense, where you have your Cortland Suttons, you have your Patricks, you have your run games and Javonte Williams,
Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, they have Jerry Jeudy. They have good talent, but their offensive line is extremely banged up. I was talking to Grant Morse from Arrowhead Live this week about that. He's a little more concerned about this matchup than I am, and I explained this to him, that when you have both a bad offensive line, which the Broncos currently do with their banged up offensive line, they were supposed to be much better with Garrett Bowles and those guys. They're all banged up. Some of them might not even play in this game, but if they do, they're going to come out there 50-60% at best. Not to mention the fact that you have a guy like Teddy Bridgewater, who's a good, solid stopgap quarterback for a team that's looking for their quarterback, which is the Broncos. But he's not a guy that's going to go out there and win you games. He's a guy that if he doesn't throw any interceptions, is going to give you just enough to hang into the game. Well, that's not enough against the Chiefs, because as we've seen over the last 2 games, the Chiefs have dominated 2 very good quarterbacks, Dak Prescott and Derek Carr.
And good running backs.
Beat the shit out of them. Held them both under 15 points. They both scored a combined 23 points against this Chiefs team. Held Dak Prescott out of the end zone. Why am I going to sit here and try to convince myself that Teddy Bridgewater is going to do anything better than that? Guys, the Chiefs have not allowed an opponent to score more than 17 points in a game in a month. And the Broncos are the 23rd ranked offense in the league.
Yep.
With a banged up offensive line, with a team that knows that they are going to fire their coach at the end of the season and have a different quarterback at the end of the season, what am I supposed to do in this matchup other than to say the Chiefs are not only the better team, not only the hotter team, but are going to come into this game with the better attack? They have the better roster. They have the better quarterback. They have the better coach. They have a energized and fueled up fan base that's going to come into this primetime game. That was the worst thing they could have done to the Broncos for this one, because they come back feeling good about themselves, beating the shit out of the Chargers in an afternoon game. What do they get rewarded with? A primetime game in Arrowhead Stadium against a team that has won 4 straight games. I know Patrick Mahomes has not played great to the level that we expect him to, even though he's third right now in yards and fourth in touchdowns, or third in touchdowns. I truly believe, guys, I don't think the Chiefs are going to score 40 in this game, but I think the Chiefs are going to win this game convincingly. I think there's a better chance that the Chiefs win this game by multiple touchdowns than lose. I looked at this matchup all week, and I can't find a reason why the Broncos can win this game. I think the Chiefs can lose this game. I think the Chiefs can find a way to just blunder it and give up the ball 3 or 4 times like they did against the Chargers early in the year. They have that type of game? Sure. I can give the Broncos a chance, but even in that scenario, they had to have Justin Herbert. You have to have a Justin Herbert to kind of win that game, and they won by 6. And the Chiefs turned it over on 3 straight possessions. So unless the Chiefs have a type of game where they turn the ball over 3 or 4 times in a row, there are no scenarios where the Broncos can come in here and win this game by the way that both teams are playing. Again, I want to give the Broncos credit. They have played well defensively this season. But when you have the schedule they had to start the year off, your numbers better look that good. When you're facing the Jets and the Texans and the Giants to start your season off, you better look that good in warm weather. But when it starts to get cold and it starts to get a little bit tighter and you're playing for playoff seeding and there's things that actually matter on the table and on the line, I'm not betting on Teddy Bridgewater coming here and beating Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. That's just not happening. So as I currently sit here and look at this matchup, guys, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts, because we have not talked about this matchup really at all week long. We've not, in our personal time, talked about this. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game by about 14 to 17 points. I think this is going to be a blowout. I think the Chiefs are going to go in there and dominate, because here's the thing. The Chiefs also know this is a game they have to win, because for the next 4 weeks, they have 3 divisional games. They have to win this game. They go in here, they have in the next 11 days, not only do they have 3 games in the next 11 days, they have 3 divisional games. So they need to go in there and win this game, and then play the Raiders next week at home again, and then they have a short week in LA against the Chargers. This is a game they need to win to give themselves that much more of a cushion against the Chargers and the Broncos and the Raiders for the AFC West divisional crown. Trevor, what are your thoughts?
I mean, there's only one way I see the Chiefs losing this game, and it has to be by turnovers, by us beating ourselves. I do want to give kudos to the Broncos defense, though. There's only been a couple games where they've really allowed 30-plus points. I'll just give you the score totals of all their games as far as what they've allowed. So, granted, the Giants, they only allowed 13 points to the Giants. Jaguars, 13 points. Jets, 0 points. They gave up 23 points to the Ravens. They lost that game. They gave up 27 to the Steelers. They gave up 34 to the Raiders. And then they only gave up 17 to the Browns. Only 10 to Washington. Only 16 points to the Cowboys, and that touchdown that gave them 16 was garbage time.
Yeah. They're up 30 to nothing in that game.
And they gave up 30 to the Eagles, 13 to the Chargers. So this defense has been consistently very good. But like you said, they haven't played many great offenses. I think this is going to be more of a defensive game, though. I do. I think this is going to be because our offense hasn't been right yet. It really hasn't. We had that good game against the Raiders. We needed that. But this is a far better defense than that Raiders defense, and I'm giving them the respect. There was a couple, and the only reason a couple of those teams like the Steelers and the Raiders scored north of 30 was because of some turnovers from the Broncos. That could definitely happen, but I don't think it's going to be like a big blow-up spot for Pat. I think Pat could go out there and throw for 1 or 2 touchdowns. But I think this is going to be one of those games where our defense just does what it does. Maybe force a couple turnovers on Teddy B, because I think we're going to give Teddy B hell. I think Teddy Bridgewater is going to have a rough day. Our defense is just playing great right now, and so is theirs. So I think this is going to be one of those games where we win like 21-7, 21-10. I don't think there's going to be a lot of touchdowns scored in this game. I really don't. I do think we win by double digits, but it's not going to be like some epic blowout where we're like 35, 40 points. I don't think that's going to happen. If that does happen, I think it will be because we have like a pick six or a defensive touchdown or a few forced turnovers, and we put our offense in great scoring position right off the bat, and we rush a couple, throw a couple. I think it's going to be one of those kind of games, but it's not going to be like Pat's going to go out there and throw for 404. I don't think that's going to happen. I have a lot of respect for this defense. Hasn't allowed any quarterbacks to really go off on them.
Yeah.
The one they did, I think Jalen Hurts had a big game against them because he was just running all over them. Pat's not going to do that.
No.
It's a very tough defense to throw on, man. It really is. But Teddy B will give us the ball, and I think that's going to happen a couple times. And they're down Melvin Gordon, which is a big loss because they are a run-first offense, and they depend on that defense. So Javonte Williams, I think, is the better back, though, at this point. I love that rookie. I think he's an absolute stud, and he's very good at receiving the ball, too.
But he's capitalized on having Melvin Gordon next to him.
If we stop him, if we stop that running game, and they're without Melvin Gordon, that's a huge loss. So they don't have that double-headed monster. That's been a good tandem all year. But if we can stop Javonte from getting, because he's averaging 5 yards a carry right now. Very good running back in this league. So if we stop him, get after Teddy B, this game's done. They have no chance against us. If they have to pace us, especially if we're putting up a touchdown or two early and they have to pace us, this game's over. That's not an offense that can play from behind and win games. That's what happened in the Raiders game. They got down early and the Raiders just took advantage, and Waller had a good game. They ran the ball well, and there was no looking back. And I can see that definitely happening. I think the most points we score is 30 in this game. I don't think we're going to get off. I have this respect I have for that defense. But like you said, Pat's played well against Fangio's defenses. This is a young, fast, tough defense. Bradley Chubb's back, and he's been making his presence known. Just got to stop the run. If we stop them from scoring points, we're going to get ours. We'll win by double digits in my mind.
Yeah, I'm not too afraid of this matchup. I mean, like you guys said, I think the only way we can lose this game is turnovers. I think us being ourselves would definitely be the only way the Broncos win. Offensively wise, for both teams, they're both struggling. They're both not great offenses. Yes, we have the far better talent in offensive wise, but they haven't proved it. They proved it against a collapsing Raiders team that obviously beat the Cowboys, but that's another story. But I just don't think that the Broncos and the Chiefs offenses are going to come out and put up massive points up. The defenses are playing great. Our defense is definitely playing way better. It's a completely different defense. I don't recognize this defense from the beginning of the season. And then obviously the Broncos are playing good defense. And Patrick Mahomes has struggled against good defenses. And hopefully this is not the case, but we've seen when Patrick Mahomes plays a good defense, he turns the ball over. The offense turns the ball over. We have Travis Kelce dropping catches, Tyreek Hill dropping passes, Mecole Hardman dropping. So it all comes down to what defense is going to allow how many points. So I can see this being a close game, mid-20s,
a lot of field goals.
Points, a lot of field goals maybe.
Yeah.
I don't see them either getting anywhere near 30. Like I said, maybe mid-20s, maybe low 20s. I just think this is going to be a battle of the defenses.
Could be like that Giants game.
The Giants, yeah. It's just going to be a battle of the defense of the defenses. I think it's going to come down to who's a better defense, who's more consistent, so.
Yeah, they've been consistent defensively. Like I said, Vic Fangio is one of the best minds in football when it comes to scheming up defenses, and they've played decent against the Chiefs over these last couple of years defensively.
They've been competitive games.
But the Chiefs have won every single game outside of one since Patrick Mahomes been here by at least double digits.
11 straight.
So, and in the Broncos' losses this year, they've given up over 22 points a game, and their wins, they're only giving up 11 points a game. So the only way, again, are you going to keep the Chiefs to 11 points? I don't see that is a realistic scenario. I know the Chiefs have not had great offensive outings throughout the year, but if I'm putting my money on what the Chiefs are going to do, are they going to score over 22 or are they going to score less than 12?
And I'm going to say
they're going to do it the first one.
What I'm going to say about, again, in respect to that Broncos defense, a lot of those points that they've allowed were not entirely on them because they've been on the field a whole lot because Teddy Bridgewater and or whatever quarterback has been in there has been turning the ball over a lot.
Right.
And so when that offense is bad, they have weapons, but their quarterback play has just been bad. One of the worst in the league. So Teddy Bridgewater has not worked out there. Prime time, big lights. I think Teddy Bridgewater this is a great collapse spot for him just to absolutely be terrible. And I'm expecting that to happen before anything else.
And the reason I'm so confident in this matchup is two reasons. One, obviously, is because of Andy Reid after the bye. I know
Yeah.
he's sick of talking about it. It's true. He's 19-3 after the bye.
We didn't even bring that up.
Okay? And here are the Chiefs. And here's Andy Reid and the Chiefs after the bye since 2013. There's a correlation here. They lost 27-17 versus the Broncos. Won 23-20 versus the Chargers. Won 29-13 versus the Broncos. That was Peyton Manning's torching game. Won 26-10 versus the Raiders. Lost 12-9 versus the Giants. The game that couldn't believe Alex Smith was still playing.
Yeah.
Won 40-33 versus the Raiders. The first game after Kareem Hunt was gone. Won 40-9 versus the Raiders, and then won 35-31 versus the Raiders. Do you guys see any correlation there?
He's kind of good after the bye. Yeah.
7 of the 8 games they have faced after the bye with Andy Reid to this point have been against AFC West opponents, and they went 6-1 in those games. The Broncos, the Chiefs only lost one time in that span to the Broncos, and that was in 2013.
That was Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning is still at his apex when they put up historic numbers.
Balling out of his mind.
Here's another thing. The Chiefs are not only seasoned because of Andy Reid and his experience and being able to tighten the screws for a bye week when he gets an extra week to study for a team. It's also the fact that the Chiefs are far more seasoned in games like this than the Broncos are. The Chiefs, to this point of the season, have already faced 6 top 15 defenses and 4 top 10 defenses. And they've beaten 3 of them. So, look, I don't mean to downplay what the Broncos are defensively, but when you equate Teddy Bridgewater, like you said, Trevor, and how much they've had to be on the field because of his inability.
Our defense is a blow. This is a blow-up spot for our defense more than our offense.
Yeah, you're talking about the Chiefs are not facing anything they're unfamiliar with. They're not going to go into this game and go, oh, fuck, this is a really good defense. What the fuck do we do? This is what they've been facing all year. The Chiefs have had maybe the toughest schedule in football. They've faced, 7 playoff teams already?
Yeah.
We got 6 games to go. So my point is, the Chiefs are prepared for this. If this was an early season slate, I'd be like, man, I don't know, guys. The Chiefs are struggling. Like, I don't think they're 2-4-ish right now. Like, I think the Broncos are going to win this game. Like, their defense is so. No, the Chiefs have been through hell and back. Like, this is the kind of game where I don't think they're sweating it. I don't mean they're not respecting the Broncos.
This is not a trap game for the Chiefs.
Yes, exactly. Even though there's a bunch of divisional games on the horizon, this is a game where I think the Chiefs have been amped up and ready to go for. I think they're going to come into this game motivated as fuck, and which is why I want to segue into the final portion of this preview. When it comes to key players in this game, the guy that I look at defensively on this, I'm actually going to give 2 defensive players my key players of this game because I agree with Trevor. I think this is going to be more of a defensive game, and I think there's actually going to be a defensive score in this game. I think the 2 key players in this matchup are 2 guys that no one is saying, well, of course, Lance, no shit. But I think that this guy's finally going to get his stats. It's Melvin Ingram. I think because he has not gotten stats this season. I think he's only got 6 tackles,
I think we're going to blitz
0 sacks. I think he gets multiple sacks in this game. I think Melvin Ingram makes the key plays in this game defensively when it comes to sacks. But then on the other side of it, guys, there is a legacy being built up from one cornerback on this team, and it is Lord Jarius Sneed. He's finally getting the recognition nationally that he deserves. Pro Football Talk, PFF, all these articles, all these websites are starting to put Lord Jarius Sneed out there. I think he's going to put himself out there even more on the national stage. I think you're going to hear Chris Collinsworth going, this Lord Jarius Sneed character, let me tell you, Al, I think he's going to do whatever it takes to get himself in Canton. Back to you, Al. Like, I think you're going to see the slide and like, Lord Jarius Sneed. I think you're going to see something like that where Lord Jarius Sneed makes a big key pick. Trevor, you talk about turning the ball over. I think Teddy Bridgewater is going to have multiple turnovers in this game, and my boy, Lord Jarius Sneed, is going to get one of those. So those are my 2 key players. I've never done that this season where I had both players on one side of the ball. I think my key players are Melvin Ingram and Lord Jarius Sneed. Patrick Mahomes, I think he's going to have a decent game. He's like 270, 275, 2 touchdowns. Solid game from Patrick. Yeah. But I don't think it's going to be a game where the offense is just killing the defense. I think this is a game where our defense, the Chiefs' defense, puts them in prime position, puts Patrick in great field position. I think the special teams plays very solid because that's another portion that people aren't talking about. The Broncos are terrible on special teams. They're the 2nd worst special teams unit in the NFL. I think that plays a key factor. I wouldn't be shocked if we get a special teams touchdown from the Chiefs now that Mike Hughes is back in his role. McCole Hardman's been benched. I think that you're going to see the Chiefs win on all 3 phases of this game, but those are key players. Trevor, who are yours?
Yeah, Teddy Bridgewater is one of the worst quarterbacks facing blitz, and I think Spags is going to have himself a field day mixing up some blitz packages here, some stunts and some twists and some things he's going to throw out there. I think he's going to I think my guy is going to be Willie Gay. I think Willie Gay, because we haven't seen him get mixed into a lot of blitz packages yet, and he's great at blitzing. He's very fast, very athletic. I like the middle of our defense this week. because I think if you blitz up the middle and you bring a lot of obviously this includes Chris Jones, but I'm saying Willie Gay because I think they're going to really target Chris Jones and try to keep him from getting up the middle. And I think that's going to open up some slot there for Willie Gay. It could be Bolton too. It could be Hitchens. I like our linebackers in this game, bringing some pressure, maybe some added blitz pressure up the middle. I don't know. I just like because when you force Bridgewater out of the middle of the pocket, he needs to have a pocket. He's terrible when he has to escape and make a play and throw downfield. He's bad. So I think that's going to be a key thing for our defense. I think Spags is really going to try to bring a lot of pressure up the middle. I mean, Frank Clark could definitely have his game off the edge. That could definitely happen too. Obviously, with the pressure being there in the middle, I think forcing Bridgewater, stopping the run and forcing Bridgewater out of the pocket quickly is going to be huge for this defense. And that could allow opportunities for the Melvin Ingrams and the Frank Clarks of this defense too. But I think Willie Gay has a couple plays in this game and kind of wows us again because it's been a couple weeks since he's had because he had those 2 straight games with interceptions. And we're like, Jesus Christ, this guy is the man. It's been a couple weeks since he's really had a play like that. So I think this is a great opportunity for him to feast on the weaknesses of Teddy B. And I think using him in some middle linebacker blitz packages to bring pressure to the middle, and they're gonna have to try to double team Chris Jones in the middle. So I think that's gonna open up some spots for him to sneak in there and maybe get a sack or 2.
This is a bad offensive line, guys. They're banged up.
So I think pressure up the middle is gonna be huge against Teddy Bridgewater, forcing him out of the pocket. And I think Willie Gay's gonna have a couple plays. Could be a pick too, but I think there's a chance where he gets a blitzing sack.
Yeah.
So I like Willie Gay.
All right, Eddie, who you got, man?
All right, man. I got one offense, one defense. I'm gonna go offense with. I think Byron Pringle's gonna have I think he's gonna have himself a game this week.
That's a good call.
I think
that's a hot one. I like that.
Yeah.
If it's something happens,
He has those games though. He has those games.
Yeah.
This is a good defense.
He has, exactly.
Yeah.
He has those games, and I think this is where they're gonna utilize them the most because I think Tyreek and Travis Kelce will probably more than likely be double teamed this series, and I can see Byron Pringle because Josh Gordon's probably gonna get some yards, but I think the main target is gonna be Byron Pringle because he's a little quick, he's good. He's a good route runner, not great. Mm-hmm. So I think Tyreek and Travis Kelce being double teamed kind of helps him a little bit with getting open those quick slants. Patrick Mahomes, those ding ducks. So I think Byron Pringle can have himself a great game. That kind of like that Mecole Hardman kind of game where Mecole Hardman had 100 yards and a couple touchdowns or some shit like that with 4 or 5 catches. So I think he's gonna have himself that kind of game. Let's hope so. But and then on the defense, I'm with you. I think Melvin Ingram's gonna be the guy. He's gonna put the pressure in there. I think he's finally gonna get his sack with the Chiefs, especially being a fucking division opponent. Him being with the Chargers and has faced the Broncos previously. He knows how that system works a little bit. So I can see Melvin Ingram, putting in some work. We saw what he did against the Raiders, and he put in some work. So I think he's going to be able to put in some work this
All right,
week.
real quick. I am picking the Chiefs to win this game convincingly. I think it's going to be a 17-point victory for the Chiefs. Trevor, do you have the Chiefs winning this game?
I do. Did you have an offensive player that you wanted to talk
No,
about?
I said both of the key players for me are going to be defensive players.
I just want to throw out a kind of a sneaky offensive player I think could have a decent game. I think we're going to have some 2 to 3 tight end sets. I think we're going to need some added protection for because this is a very good defensive line. Bradley Chubb is back, and he's good. This is a defense that gets after the quarterback well. Not even necessarily with blitzing. They have a good front four there that get after the quarterback, and Pat's had some struggles there. With getting away from the dealing with good front fours. So I think with the added additions of more snaps for these tight ends, I think Noah Gray has a sneaky chance here of being one of the receptors of a touchdown. We've seen them try to get him involved more this past couple weeks, and he's looked good. He had that. He had one drop, I think, but it wasn't really his. It was kind of a shaky pass. They've been targeting him, having him in these red zone packages, and I think there's a good chance where he can sneak in because there's going to be so much focus on that defense on stopping Travis Kelce. And I think I don't think Travis Kelce's going to have a great game here. I think with that, I think Noah Gray has a chance to get a touchdown, maybe a few catches in this game. I know you like the sneaky play of Pringle, which is a good call too. I think there's a good chance. He shows up in games where we're struggling.
Exactly.
He'll have a big play. So that's a good call. So I think these secondary options in our offense have a chance to get some plays because there's going to be so much focus on this defense of stopping Tyreek and Travis.
Yes.
Even McColl can have a chance to have a random blow-up game here too. So I like the secondary options in our offense. So I think I think we'll see more tight ends out there this week, so I think Noah Gray has a good chance to catch a few passes and possibly a sneaky touchdown.
Shit, if we're talking about sneaky, I know I'd said Pringle, but you can say Josh Gordon. I think Josh Gordon could finally have
red
that
zone
game that Lance has been waiting for the past.
We've all been waiting for it, man. Yeah, we've all been waiting for it.
So Josh Gordon could be that guy, you know. So we'll see.
So yeah, I think the Chiefs win though. I think the Chiefs win by double digits. I don't think this is going to be like a. I don't think it's going to be a game where we're like tense and like worried. I think our defense is going to be so good. I think we're going to have to get after Teddy B. But I do think we score like 21 to 24 points, and they score maybe 10 to 13 points. I don't think they score more than one touchdown, the Broncos. If they do, it'll be in garbage time where we're already up by double digits, and it's going to matter. It has I have a similar feel to it than kind of how I felt with the Giants game. I think we'll score more than the Giants game than we did in that game because I just think coming up a bye week, I think Andy Reid's going to have some things up his sleeve that are going to be like, what the fuck? How did that work? That's what I'm saying. So I think there's going to be some secondary options in the offense that get some opportunities here because Andy Reid's going to have some things drawn up for this defense to like throw them off.
Don't be shocked if the Chiefs have a convincing lead in the fourth quarter that you don't see a Chris Jones line up an offense on the in the red zone like he did with the bloated pig with Dontari Poe all those years ago.
Yeah.
There's something about Broncos primetime games because I think that was a Thursday night game that we faced them and we were blowing them out. It was like 31-7 at that point, and then he throws the touchdown. And
I think it's a comfortable win for the
Chris
Chiefs,
Jones
but it might not be the most exciting game offensively.
All right,
rush the ball.
Chiefs. So Chiefs win across the board. We have one more order of business to get to. I believe it's called Hold This L. What we do each and every week is we finish off each and every episode with a series of L's in the world of sports, whether they're friendly or not friendly. We promise you, who is ever holding those L's in the world of sports, those motherfuckers deserve it. Eddie T's Mr. Yo. Who's holding the L for you this week, and is it F1?
No, it's not F1. It should be F1, but no. I'm gonna go and do a W this week because earlier this week I've texted you guys and stuff like that, pictures, and let you guys know that the GOAT won another MVP award for all of soccer, pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
Number 7, that is his number 7, record-breaking. It broke his record of 6, which was also record-breaking. So, yeah, man, I just don't think it's even close.
He's chasing himself at this point.
Lionel Messi is just by far has been the greatest talent we've ever seen in soccer. A lot of people want to bring Cristiano Ronaldo, but Cristiano Ronaldo stuck at, I believe, at 5 or 4, can't remember. And he finished 6th this season, and he's what, 36 years old, I think. Mm-hmm. So I think his run to chase Messi has come to an end. I think both of their careers are on a decline. Obviously, Ronaldo's still doing his thing, but he's become more of a like a tactic player.
Oh yeah.
He's not the guy anymore. Like he's the name, but he's no longer the guy.
Yeah.
He's more of a tactic kind of player. His game slowed down a little bit. He's still scoring goals, like I said, but his game is with his age, it's decreasing.
They're
a little
numbered,
bit.
yeah.
It's noticeable, and people don't want to accept the fact that they're getting old. They're both getting old. Mm-hmm. Messi, I believe, is 34, 35. It's almost coming to that time where they both, say, okay, this is it. We don't see many soccer players making it to 40. And if we do, they literally ride the bench. They don't start or anything. I think the only guy that you can think of is Francesco Totti, and I believe he retired like at 40, 41. But Gigi Buffon, I believe he's still playing. So it's very, very, very hard to see 40-year-olds playing, and obviously, yeah, like I said, you will never see another player like Messi in your lifetime. I think it's something that you should enjoy watching, all soccer fans, and even if you're not a soccer fan, if you're just a fan of greatness, that's something to be be happy that he's around when you're around. So, man, we gotta take this shit, put it in our memory bank.
God, if only Eddie could do that with LeBron James.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Weird.
Nah,
I agree with that logic, Eddie.
Let's keep that consistent, Eddie. Yeah. Keep that energy.
I do. MJ and then LeBron, Tom Brady. So, I mean, it's there. So, But yeah, man. Messi's going to get that W for me.
Awesome. Man. Trevor Twidwell, who's holding the L for you this week?
Odell Beckham Jr. is going to hold the L. I know this has been a thing. I mean, the past few weeks for him. Him bitching his way out of Cleveland, which was obviously I agree with him. It's not a great position to be in over there right now. They're falling flat on what should be.
Kareem Hunt's dad posted shit on social media about
Odell
Baker Mayfield.
Oh, about Baker? Yeah, Baker. I think we all know Baker's time is limited here. He's on his way out.
I don't think he's getting an extension.
He's going to be a journeyman. I think he's going to turn into
backup. I think he's a great back.
He's going to be like one of those Josh McCown type players. I think he's going to be a solid journeyman backup that's going to make his rounds.
Like that.
It sucks.
Ball, you think?
Possibly. I think he's a little bit better than those guys. I think Baker's a good quarterback.
He's going to be a great backup.
Ironically,
somewhere.
I think he's kind of like a Case Keenum, who his backup is right now. Exactly. So I think they're very similar players.
Yes.
The upside is very limited, but they have a solid floor. Yeah. Those are those kind of guys. They're very vanilla. They can go in 1 year game.
Solid clipboard holders.
Bring him to Casey as a backup. I love that.
He's banged up too. I mean, Baker's had moments where he was obviously very good in college.
He's got like 11 touchdown passes in 11 games.
Yeah, that's a very 2014 Alex Smith heavy offense. When you got Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, I mean, you don't need to throw the ball much. But anyways, Odell worked his way out of Cleveland. Got his way into LA. He's in Hollywood now. They've done nothing but lose 3 straight games since he's been there. Or they lost 3 straight, haven't they?
2.
Or 2 straight. They've only 2-1.
Is it?
It's been 3 straight weeks. I know for Stafford, it's thrown 3 pick sixes.
They lost to the 49ers, and then they lost to.
I thought they started off the season like 7-1, and they're 7-4 now.
Yeah, they've lost
3 straight. I think.
With Odell.
Let
Yeah.
me see.
No, because Odell's only played 2 games there, I believe.
Yeah, they've lost 3 straight games.
Well, Von Miller, since Von Miller's been there.
Yeah, they've lost. Yeah, so they lost the Titans, Niners, and then the Packers.
Yeah, because I don't think Odell was there with the Titans.
No, it was since Von Miller
Odell
got
did
signed.
finally have a good game against the Packers. I think he had 88 receiving yards and a touchdown, 5 catches, 88 yards, and receiving touchdown. Kudos for that. That's great. That was pretty much in garbage time, and the game was already pretty much decided because the Packers put it on them. The Packers, who I think are the best team in football right now. Anyways, that's not even the real reason. After the game, a lot of players like to switch jerseys, swap jerseys, and do their thing. I had to mention this, dude. This is so good because I love Devontae Adams.
This is funny.
Devontae Adams, he went up to Devontae Adams. I'm pretty sure they're homeboys behind the scenes, but he wanted to do a jersey swap with Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams gave him that cold shoulder and said, I'm quoting Devontae Adams. He said he needed a jersey after the game. I told him, go get Cooper Kupp's jersey. He says, that's who you want to be with. Bro, if that's not an L, I don't know. After taking the L literally on the field, you could have been on the Packers team, which would have, in my mind, been the better choice right now. Yeah. Imagine Aaron Rodgers having Devontae Adams and Odell. And Odell's not even 100% right now. He is banged up. You can see it. It's clear.
And he's no longer a great wide receiver.
He's not. And I love Odell. I've been a big fan of him since that catch. I mean, since his rookie year. Anyways. I try to support him. I try to, be on the player's side. I try to hear him out. but I just think this guy's a problem. And since the Rams have made those moves for him and Vaughn, it just hasn't worked out. And I'm pretty sure that'll change and then they'll be back on track. But the main reason I'm giving the L is for what Devontae did to him. I mean, I know that's probably like a slight in a friendly way. But that's rough, man, because the team you avoided and the team you chose over the team that team just beat you, and you just got the cold shoulder from the better receiver. So for that, Odell Beckham Jr., do me a favor and
hold this L. We were talking just a little bit ago about the way the NFL changes and adapts to stay on top and be as successful and as great as it is, because the NFL is king. And one of those adaptations and adjustments have been how the running back position has been utilized in today's NFL. To me, I've always taken the stance that running backs as a whole are still very valuable, but the league has utilized that position much differently now, and it's more of a pass-friendly game over the last decade especially. But this year in particular has really shown us just how you really cannot and should not utilize high draft pick quality or high draft pick assets and money on the running back position. Case in point, Derrick Henry is now out for the rest of the season. He's missed already the last 3 weeks. Christian McCaffrey for the second straight year has missed large amounts of time and is now out again for the rest of the season. We have Dalvin Cook from the Minnesota Vikings, a great running back, is going to miss more time now with a separated shoulder. Nick Chubb from the Cleveland Browns, one of the best running backs in football, has missed another large portion of the season. You have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The Chiefs took him in the first-round pick. missed multiple games last year, has missed multiple games again
Very
this year.
volatile position.
Yeah, there's so many names I could bring down, and I bring up those 4 guys in particular, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, and Nick Chubb, is because all of their teams gave those guys extensions and very lucrative
Handsome
extensions. Yes, and now all 4 of those teams are dealing with currently or have this season dealt with their absences, and those offenses are predicated on their success. So I have to give this L to the running back position because now it's convincing me, and I'm always somebody that wants to be able to be right. Like, if I'm wrong about something, I learn from that mistake, and I've been somebody who's been pounding the table saying running backs are still very valuable in this league, and I still to a degree agree with that because I think the Titans would clearly be still the 1 seed in the AFC if they had a healthy Derrick Henry. But because of the fact that I didn't think that gods could bleed. Now has bled. It's starting to show that this running back you cannot pay those guys. You just can't. Because now that he's fallen, the Titan, literally the Titan has fallen.
You can extend them, but not the way that they've been getting these
the value of them has dropped. And so for that, running back position as a whole in the NFL, do me a solid and
Yeah, I agree, man.
I do want to end the show off on a more sobering and serious note, though, and I hate when I have to do this, but unfortunately we live in a world where there's a lot of sadness and a lot of real things that happen, and I'm going to bring up a very sobering and sad story. So we've heard out of Michigan this week that Oxford High School had a shooting that involved 4 lives being lost, and when I heard the story, it broke my heart already because you obviously don't want to ever hear about children losing their lives due to just sheer stupidity and madness. But the reason I wanted to bring it up on the show is because there was an athlete that was involved in this, and I wanted to acknowledge that athlete. First of all, the 4 names that were lost in this unfortunate shooting was Madison Baldwin. Then we had Hannah St. Juliana. And by the way, Madison Baldwin was 17 years old. She was set to graduate this year. Madison Baldwin was 17. Hannah St. Juliana was 14. Justin Schilling was 17. And then 6 other students were also shot. But the guy that I do want to specify on this is a player and a person by the name of Tate Meir. He was only 16 years old, and he was a stud athlete. He was a player that was very much well on his way of playing college football. And I want to just read a little bit from this excerpt that CNN actually brought up when it comes to Tate Meir and what they got from him. It's clear that Tate Meir was dedicated to his sport. He was a star football player who had earned a spot on the varsity team since he was a freshman at Oxford High School, the team said in a tweet. Not only was he talented on the field, he excelled academically and was an honor student. This is their quote from the high school. It is with great grief that one of the victims of this tragic event at OHS High School was one of our own, Tate Meir, the team tweeted Tuesday evening. Tate was a great young man with a bright future and beloved by all. You will be missed, Tate. Meir, end quote. Meir's own Twitter account is full of game highlights and scrimmage videos showcasing his abilities. One of his last tweets on November 28th thanked the University of Toledo football team for having him at one of their games. A deputy after the shooting had loaded Meir into their car where he died on the way to the hospital, the sheriff said. Quote, my life has been broken just like that, Ty Meir, who identified himself as Tate's older brother, wrote on Instagram. Quote, never in my life will I feel this pain again. This still isn't right and it can't be. I miss you with everything in my heart, Tate, that I would do what I would do to see you one more time, end quote. And he just goes on and on and on about the sadness of losing his brother. The point is, I'm not trying to bring the show down by this, but I wanted to bring attention to Tate Meir because of the fact that he was the one that tried to fight off the shooter. He went at that guy heroically, and Tate Meir is a hero for what he did. I can't imagine, because you always try to put yourself in situations like, if something like that was happening, what would you do? And me as a 33-year-old man sitting here going, man, I would hope I would have the courage of a 16-year-old kid. To sit there and say that is beyond humbling, and it's so heartbreaking that people would take young people's lives like this, and for a guy like Tate Meir to put his own life on the line when his life hadn't even started yet I can't even put it to words. It's humbling. But I wanted to end the show by putting that out there and saying that we here at the Spoken Podcast respect and admire the heart and the courage that Tate Meir and his fellow students put out there in trying to save other people's lives. And it's just a very unfortunate event. My heart is sincerely with the Meir family and the Oxford High School family, and I hope that you guys can get through this very, very challenging and heartbreaking time as well as you possibly can, because I cannot imagine what that would be like. And I can't can't imagine. I don't want to imagine it because I know that I would be struck with grief, and I just hope that his family knows that there are so many of us out here, us three included, that love and support you guys with everything that we have. And I wanted to take this time on our platform to give you the respect you guys deserve, and to sit here and say that Tate Muir will forever be remembered as a hero, because that's what he was and that's what he will forever be. So for Trevor Twidwell, for Eddie Ortiz, for Clay Windler, for everybody that contributes to this, and Jason Dunn and his awesome family, can't wait to get to talking football with him next week. I am Lance Twidwell. Episode 145 of the Spoken podcast is finished. It's done. It's finito. And until next week, when we're possibly and hopefully talking about another Chiefs victory, we out of this bitch.
See ya.